Angry, Aussie. 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 Angry, Aussie. Aussie.
Sorry, I'm just sharing a joke with Mrs. Angry before I go on about my level of vanity. The joke, I might even save the joke because I've just started the stream. Let a few people actually join the stream before I use my A material. Might actually make myself a drink. Warm-up drink, freezer martini, maybe. Yes, freezer martini. Right. So I want a martini glass. There's a martini glass. Probably should have prepared this, but the joy of the freezer martini only takes a second to pour. Oh, and in fact, I get to top it up because I've had this will be, I think, the third one. I like it. It's the infinity martini. I like to top it up, and so it's just got heaps of different sorts of gin in it and move. You want a banana? I'm making this a banana. The joy of doing the streams in the kitchen, helping out. So, good evening, Raiders. Safa, hello. Just fixing myself freezer martini. Love the way it pours straight out of the freezer. Just a little bit viscous, and it's how'd the floaty get in there? I should check. Is the cork decaying? No, it's plastic. It's not a cork. I chose that specifically because I was worried about a cork decaying. Okay, I just managed to get an impurity in somewhere. That's okay. Oh, yes, Safa. Hilarious Eddie Abid and the rest of those scammers going to prison, which they frickin' deserve. I mean, the list of people involved in politics who deserve to be in prison for their scammy shit is longer than those three who got put away today. But, like some of the people who are fronting the current independent corruption inquiry. We shall see what comes out of that, really. I mean, Jesus, the thing with Eddie Abid dragged on for friggin' years. It was ridiculous. I can't even remember how long it's been going on. So if you think the federal speaker should resign because the party went against him, yeah, that was oof. I tell you what, super corrupt behavior. But anyway. Have I mentioned that I like dry martinis? Because I do. Yes, Abigail. last night of lockdown. Let's get pissed. Raiders. Good summary. Smug cunts deserve to rot inside. Yeah, what they got? Minimum of 3 to 5 years. It was a bit mixed between them. It was just so friggin' criminal. Invisible Chicken, hello. So, oof. I make my martinis fairly high octane. I have to remember occasionally to add water to my freezer martini because traditionally you stir a martini with ice, which dilutes a bit, melts a bit, dilutes the martini a bit. If you don't do that, it can be too strong. Unless you just like drinking straight gin, which, some people do. But I remember every now and then to add a bit of water to the freezer martini as well. Yes, Safra, I do worry what's happening with the COVID cases in coming weeks and months. The healthcare sector is under far too much pressure. And we just have to wait and see what happens. And yes, will Daryl Mcguire get jail time? Will Gladys? I'm thinking, Daryl Mcguire, maybe. I'm thinking Gladys, no. But I mean, who friggin' knows? I mean, I don't know, what's going to be uncovered. But I mean, the shit is so fucking dodgy. Oh, that's a good point, Raiders. Their jail terms would have been less if they didn't hold public office. So it's great that they got extra punished because they betrayed their public office. Music Avid is booked in to fly a Cessna 172 with 2 friends tomorrow morning before work, keeping an eye on the weather. Okay, before midday. I hope you have a good flight. That sounds like a fine way to spend a bit of time. I don't know. I don't know. They're not going to hurt me. Whatever the fuck these impurities are. The little floaties. I don't know where they came from, if they're in here or if there was something in the glass that I didn't clean out properly. Either way, I'll survive. The alcohol will kill any bugs. Safa, why doesn't Queensland have a Senate? Because it's got a really small population. I think there was an official reason for it, but I think it's to do with their small population. Or, you know what? We're on the internet. We could go, why doesn't mine look like that? Wow. Why doesn't Queensland have an upper house? First up was daylight saving, then was upper house. When was the upper house abolished in Queensland? Act was proclaimed 23rd March 1922, ending the 63-year history of Queensland Legislative Council. Abolition of the upper house makes Queensland's parliament the only single-chamber legislature. So there you go. Abolition. Legislative Council was seen by the Labor Party as undemocratic and a tool of patronage. And upon the establishment of a secure Labor majority in the Assembly in 1915, Labor sought the House's abolition. They tried for a long time. 1921. There you go. Non-Labor parties petitioned the British government, but Colonial Secretary Winston Churchill concluded the matter was one for determination locally. Governor felt unable to say there's evidence of any strong or widespread feeling in the country against the assent being given. Labor's view was summed up in 1980 by Labor politician, historian Dr. Dennis Murphy, who claimed the dominance of wealth and property over the Queensland Parliament was broken. However, some scholars and political commentators have argued that the excesses of the Bjelke-Petersen years in Queensland were only possible because of the absence of a House of Review. And the problem was not the council itself, but the existence as a nominated rather than elected body. Well, there you go. Nettie, you're scared. It is a bit scary, honestly. It is a bit scary. And Greg, hello. So yes, the Senate in Queensland, up to the point it was abolished, was not elected. They were all appointed. And yes, Labor rightly said, fuck those guys, and got rid of it altogether. As yes, some people argued maybe you should have changed the legislation to make the Senate elected. Not sure why they went for abolition rather than restructuring, but they did. And thus it remains to this day, Australia's only a unicameral government. So, that's today's political trivia. So if you're worried about a 4,000 people concert in Melbourne, that's right, they're doing something at the Maya Music Bowl, aren't they? I don't know. You know, they're fucking 10,000 people at spring racing carnivals, and it's just like, well, what the fuck ever. So there you go. we're either fucked or we're not. I'm hoping we're not. I'm hoping we've got sufficient levels of vaccination, which just keeps going up and up, that we won't be fucked. But we'll see. We will see. And hello, Celtic King. He seemed okay. He joined us the other night. When was it? Sunday night? And he was in fine form. And I haven't heard from him since then. So I guess he's occupied with things. Safa, no, I think you're on the wrong track there about communists not liking oppositions and Labour in the 1920s like the Reds in Russia. I think they raised a very important point that the Senate being appointed by people already in positions of power was fucked and undemocratic. Yeah. And that's the whole point, Safa. The Queensland Senate, as it existed, was not democratic. It was autocratic. It was an unelected body. It was the wealthy appointed by other members of the wealthy to try and control the lives of people. So, yes, getting rid of that Senate was an act of a pro-democracy act. I'm surprised it hasn't been replaced with an elected Senate, because it is the only state government that does not have a Senate. So, yeah, but I learned something. I think I have actually read that before. But yeah, I thought it was just something to do with small population. But no, the Labor Party actually actively destroyed the upper house because it was just rich bastards appointed by other rich bastards. And we cannot trust them. So there you go. It was an interesting point suggesting the excesses of the Bjelke-Petersen years were only possible because there was no Senate. I think that's a bit shake-weighty, honestly. What did they do with the Senate building? I don't know. That's a good question. If there was even another building. See, like I've gotten sort of, advanced academic degree, but every now and when academics talk about things, I get, nope, that's all a bit shake-weighty, honestly. So, what are you going to do? Me, I'm just going to deride people in positions of authority because I don't trust them. Not in the sort of conspiracy theory way, as in the I can see that person acting in a corrupt manner way. Ooh, I can see that person advancing a police state. That includes Dan Andrews, who regulars will know I pretty much support. He passes the very low bar of, in my opinion, being the best political leader in Australia. Very low bar to get over, but I think he does it. And every now and then he's just so decent. I just feel in awe, like a politician risen to that level, showing decency is so rare. But then I remember, oh no, man fucking loves the cops, defends the cops no matter what they do. Never met a punitive measure he didn't like. So, don't put him on a pedestal, is what I'm saying. Should ScoMo be in jail? What for? Nominate something he should be. He should be out of politics. He should be fired solely for incompetence. If you can find evidence of criminal wrongdoing, I'd be the first to say, yeah, fucking throw the book at him. And yes, Raiders, the shit fight within the Victorian Liberals is hilarious. For anyone who missed it, someone leaked the audio from a Zoom meeting of the Victorian Parliamentary Liberal Party, and they were just swearing at each other because the arch conservatives want to overturn the Labor government's ban on gay conversion therapy because, that's torture and indefensible, and because the far right of the Liberal and National Party are fucking pieces of shit. They've got this thing that they want to overturn it and make that torture legal again. And other people saying, no, we're not. And they're all like, fuck you. And it's like, no, fuck you. Read the fucking thing. Fuck you. I can fucking... And they're fucking going at each other. Safa, today, I think, it was reported in media today. And yes, Raiders, with the three Lib factions in Victoria, they're just going to tear each other apart, which would be fun. I really look forward to... we don't get nice things in politics anymore, but I just hope, what I really want, next state election, the Liberals get fucking smashed. I want this whole blue ribbon zone that I'm in the middle of. I want at least a couple of them to fall. There's 6 seats that up until recently would have been regarded as unassailable, but I know they're really fucking nervous about them now. I'd like at least 2 or 3 of them to fall in the next election. And then I also want, at the next federal election, Liberal MPs in Victoria to get fucking smashed. Safa, why do people vote National? Why does anyone do anything? Why does anyone do anything? The old line of the Country Party, which became the National Party, was, we've got to represent the issue, the interests of the man on the land, because them city slickers ain't going to do it. And not without reason, people in country towns are broadly of the opinion, the people in the big cities don't give a shit about me and would fuck me over in a heartbeat if they got the chance. That is not an unfounded belief, having grown up in the country. The degree to which you're marginalized in the country, you're under-resourced, people in the cities, I think, are often hugely oblivious to the massive privilege and benefits that they have over people in the country. And this is from when you're at school, the resources kids, and I don't even mean the private school fucks, just being in a state school in Sydney where you have access to the big libraries, state library, university libraries, the resources you have easy access to in the big cities that you just do not have access to in the country make it such an uneven competition. But, as it is. Dude, I've never fucking voted National. Jesus fuck. Where do I buy the angry ties? I have not bought a tie for 20 years. These are all my old ties. In the 90s, I used to have to wear ties in the office, so I bought a bunch of ties. I don't think I've bought a tie in 20 years. So I couldn't tell you anywhere useful to buy a tie. No idea where I got this. I just, and I don't even know what the tie situation in menswear shops is these days, because I don't need to wear ties. Except when I'm making cocktails, because I'm a classy motherfucker. Which, if you can tell, I'm doing it too. And this is because I'm going to be making a Halloween video too. So I thought I went to do this on Friday night and we got sidetracked and talked about other things. I thought, I don't want to make videos. I'm going to do, but I am going to make some videos tonight. Justin, you thought about returning to Melbourne, run for the seat of Brighton where you grew up. Yes, I think you'd make a better MP than the dickhead doing it now. All the fucking Liberal MPs in these blue ribbon seats are fucking shitheads. Spoilt to the manner born inbred Charlies, the bunch of them. Music Gaver used to wear ties on the stream, but haven't since 2020. I first became a joke because we're all working from home and used to have casual Friday at work. So it became a joke on the Friday live stream to make it formal Friday. And then it became a thing like, I'm going to wear this when I'm making cocktail videos. But yeah, it started off as a formal Friday joke. Yes, Raiders, Brighton, and as again, a couple of the blue ribbon seats were very close to going under. And also at the federal election, we expected a few of them to go under, but the federal election just didn't go the way we thought. Greg, you think next federal election's early next year? I believe Scummer's getting ready for it now as he's changed his opinion about climate change. That is an interesting point, what that climate change thing, but he's full of shit. James Newbury in Brighton. He's a dickhead, but he's Newbury's probably the least of the dickheads. Honestly, they're so fucked. You get people like Frydenberg and Dim Tim and Smith. Oh god, they're just also fucked. Donut Dick. I fucking hate that guy so fucking much. Like the unrelenting negativity that just added to the soul-crushing crap of lockdowns. The unrelenting negativity from the Victorian Liberal Party was fucking sickening. Like, dude, we get that it sucks. We all know it sucks. You're making it worse. Right. I am finally going to make my June spiced rum cocktail because June opens in the Northern Hemisphere next week. This is what I spiced it with. Cinnamon, nutmeg, star anise, peppercorns. A formal kilt. I've got a I really like my new kilt, the hybrid kilt. Half utility kilt, half tartan. Getting into summer, I'll wear the kilt more often. Particularly, I need to lose a little bit of weight so it fits me properly. I deliberately got one many sizes smaller than the last one because I'm on the weight loss thing. But yes, Raiders and the News. Who do you think? Do you think News Corp told Scummo or Scummo told News Corp that the official line was changing? It's so fucking cynical. And they're friggin' and they're also just lying. They're going, oh yeah, no, we're going to take net zero. And they're just lying. They are just making up shit that makes it impossible to have any significant change in climate. Anyway, okay, so consulting a recipe because I'm basically going to follow margarita format. But with my spiced rum instead of tequila. Margarita cocktail. Preferred recipe. So what does this say? 45 mils spirit. 1.5 ounces tequila, 3/4 of an ounce. I'm going to do an ounce of blue curacao because I want it to be really blue. About 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Now let's say agave. I am going to put my, as a little sweetener, I'm going to do my lemon lime. What's there? Gonna do my lemon lime oleosaccharum. I'll put this up here because I'm going to be standing up for a while. Bitches. Where's my... Wait, are they up here? Maybe they're up here. Angostura bitters is up here. Come on. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this. Bitterman's Tiki Bitters. Elamacule Bitters. Elamacule. That's a good word. Elamacule. Hello, Celtic King. And hello, Kirsten. I am just about to do a cocktail. my life. To tell you what, this is going to be the last of the friggin' fresh lime juice. I looked in the supermarket and we're out of lime season. They're up to $20 a kilo for lime juice. And I'm like, for limes, not lime juice. I'm like, oh, fuck that. I think we're going to be doing bottled lime juice, even though that's frowned upon by cocktail enthusiasts. I ain't paying $20 a kilo for that's, it's a couple of dollars for a lime this big. Lime juice becomes the most expensive element of the fucking cocktail at that point. But I've still got a little bit of lime juice here. So, oh, that's what I need. My blue curacao. Because blue drinks are cool. Gotta chill a glass, I think. Chill the coop, chill the coop. Yeah, I'll just put that in the freezer for a couple of minutes. Right. Want the old cocktail shaker because we'll be shaking this. And I'm going to do my silly joke about the June fear is a mind killer. All right, what's this? I'm sorry, I'm just setting up my camera. Oh, that was a zip zip. That might have been AIDSy. All right, I'm just going to check because it might be AIDSy. Let's check. Was it AIDSy? It was AIDSy. You know what? Maybe I'll let AIDSy come in and tell you stories before I do this. How about that? Okay, that seems fair, actually. I'll do that. Then AIDSy can keep you entertained while I make videos. I will let him know I emailed the link. Ouch. I only have to do an E in a response to AIDSy, and it auto-completes to emailed you the link. So, all right, we will just wait a minute for AIDSy. I was going to get up and do that and force you to watch me do it, but we could wait for AIDSy and let him regale you with stories while I make it a cocktail. That seems like a fair and equitable thing. See if I can memorize the little Frank Herbert speech. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Oh, just realized something, but that's okay. So if I'm going to do a June cocktail, I have to work that into it. What was I going to do? I was going to look at the news headlines. Foreign students and workers to be allowed back before Christmas, and tourists could follow. Oh, the universities will be fucking desperate for that. Oh gosh, you said this from the ABC. Eddie B jailed, then immediately given bail. That seems fair. Seems absolutely fair, really, doesn't it? Giving him bail straight away. There was a so I'm just looking at weird things. Oh, nice. Husband planning a trip to South Australia, starting by making a spreadsheet of distilleries. Nice. And that's a big call, Annette, but I suspect you might be right. Lindt sugarless chocolate. It's the best sugarless chocolate. I haven't tried it. I'm not that enamored of sugarless chocolate. But I shall take your word for it. That's all fair. Yeah, I mentioned the distillery at Yakandanda to Mrs. Angry today and said, hey, next time we do a weekend away, maybe in January, we could go to Yakandanda. And she's like, yeah, that sounds good. So might be doing that in January. We shall see. A lot of variables, and we're going to wait and see how many cases happen, how sick people get. So, Nettie, the Lindt chocolate, is that a dark chocolate, a milk chocolate? Which sort of chocolate is this? And I know I'd have chocolate snobs jumping down my throat. There's only one sort of chocolate. It's not dark chocolate, it's not chocolate. The rest is like milk fat, it's crap. And it's like, yes, suck my chocolate dick, honestly. It's the list of snobs. We're only like, okay, snobs. I think we've got agreement. Whiskey snobs are the worst. Then wine snobs. Then rum snobs. Then beer snobs. And then, like me, anti-vodka snobs. And chocolate snobs would be in there somewhere, actually. So, yeah, I think chocolate snobs should be on the list. Good call, Abigail. One type of chocolate worth mentioning, chocolate you enjoy eating. I like a bit of diversity. But yes, I would say the sacrilegious thing of my favorite chocolate is white chocolate. And I do acknowledge it's not technically chocolate, but it is. It's chocolate. It's a sweet treat, and I like it. Oh, Invisible Chicken. Cheese snobs exist, definitely, but they're a tiny number, and you almost never have to encounter them. I think chocolate snobs would be higher on the list for being more annoying and more prevalent than cheese snobs. Happy Always holiday snobs. That's a fun one. Again, I think that'll be slightly lower on the list because I know what you mean, I think, and they do exist, but I don't think we run into them very often, and they're not as annoying as the other snobs. I mean, oh God, I remember seeing little doco ones. There were rose snobs. There were these bloody English eccentrics who were obsessed with the heritage roses, and they hated all the more modern rose hybrids, which were designed to have really full, bright petals and whatnot, and they hated them. Oh, Abigail, typesetting software snobs. Wow. Nettie, what to do with tomorrow night? I think not going to have people over here for a stream for a little while, at least, till things settle down. Everyone in the household is double vaccinated now, but my offspring only got it yesterday, and it takes 2 weeks to be fully efficacious and all that sort of thing. I don't know. Actually, if Abigail's up for it, we could potentially plan another Friday night stream at Abigail's place sometime in the future. Nice. Kirsten takes more delight in saying you had your Hollywood Hollywood. Honeymoon in the Maldives. That's good. Oh, shit, yeah. Invisible Chicken. Coffee snobs. Coffee snobs are probably above chocolate snobs in both prevalence and annoyingness. And in fact, if you're in Melbourne, coffee snobs are probably close to the top of the list. I think they'd probably be after wine snobs, honestly. I think in Melbourne, it probably goes whiskey snobs, wine snobs, coffee snobs. Melbourne has just very bad coffee snobs. All right, there we go, Nettie. I thought we should plan it. Ooh, Megaleech with the big questions. Is Nettie referring to no added sugar chocolate or sugarless? Because, of course, yes, I guess cacao nibs have sugar content. So that's the thing. Greg, you may be one of the coffee snobs. Maybe it's a very Melbourne thing. Greg, I think you and me could be bar snobs. She's like, oh no, I don't want to go to that bar. That's too mainstream. I'm going to this trendy one down the back alley. Oh, nice, Kirsten. Love the Maldives, but the favorite part of the honeymoon was actually Sri Lanka. I have heard there are some very nice spots in Sri Lanka. You can feel mildly guilty because there's also a lot of poverty in Sri Lanka, but I heard they have really fucking good beaches, basically. So Nettie's new sweeteners, not sugar, intense sweetener, don't need as much. There's a range of alternative sweeteners that in terms of calorie count are at least 100 times sweeter than sucrose. For instance, if we say, literally, like if I'm just making this up, say a teaspoon of sucrose was 100 calories. A teaspoon of this. No, it's not that a teaspoon of it's 100 calories. It's just for the equivalent sweet taste, you need 1/100th of the alternative sweetener. Yeah, okay, Greg, you're going to change it to a bar snob. Well, you're always the one I do like to get tips from you, you being an actual city dweller, of interesting bars. And speaking of behind bars, or should be, it's Aidsy.
Hello, how are you? And thank you very much for letting me on your device. You are nice. Angry, on the other hand, has suggested that I'm a criminal. Yeah. I'm not. I'm racist and different sexophobic. Q-phobic, I'll just say.
Took the be gay, do crimes thing extremely literally.
No, I've turned a new leaf.
Have you?
I'm calling everyone a Fargeau because I don't like the American spelling. And
you're using the original French.
yeah. Surround him with Fargeau and burn him or her. Because the French, like the English, didn't know they were lesbians because Queen Victoria didn't understand it and said that doesn't.
That's a very popular folklore. I have no idea how true it is, but they put on the books as a criminal act for 2 men to get it on, but it wasn't on the books for 2 women. And the story was because Queen Victoria said, ladies don't do that sort of thing.
Well, I thought it was bullshit. I thought that sounded like bullshit, and that they just didn't give a shit about women, right?
Yeah.
And then the word came down to me that it wasn't that she didn't say ladies didn't do that sort of thing. She said, how would that work? And the men in the room
no one wanted to explain it.
Bring themselves to explain it to her. And they went, oh.
I'm sure they didn't bloody know.
Oh, no, they knew. Half those guys were members of the fucking Hellfire Club. They fucking well knew. They knew how that worked. I mean,
Point taken.
the
They'd seen
the,
various
the
live
way that
performances.
the way that the homosexuality laws were built was that you had to get busted and you had to admit to it, and this is very important, when you got tried for being a fag, you were basically given time to go and sort out your what do they call it, affairs, before you went to jail for 3 years. And it was apparently just enough time to pack and get the packet steamer to France to get the fuck out of there. And you could turn back up in 5 years and no problem. And so that's the way they wrote it. They wrote it like, if you had the money, you were fine, mate. Don't worry about it. So if you're a member of the Hellfire Club, you're probably going to tap on the shoulder anyway, like they're looking at you. But you had to get caught, essentially. And you hear about the case of Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde fucked up by bringing the lawsuit against Bosey.
No, I suppose his dad, the Marchioness of Queensberry, who was apparently a psychopath.
He was a fucked up human being.
Yeah,
it
was actually probably syphilis. He was actually probably losing it because his brain was getting eaten by syphilis. He notoriously sent a note to the Gentlemen's Club to Oscar Wilde posing as a sodomite. And he just said posing as, because calling him one would have been actionable. And Oscar Wilde tried to sue him for libel, slander, whichever it is that applies. And he almost got away with it. The big thing he stumbled is when they had a witness saying, some sort of lower class lad saying, he don't give me money to do stuff behind it. He's not right. And the prosecution said, our witness said, you did stuff. And he goes, he's talking rubbish. He's saying, so you say you've never even kissed him? Go, I'd never kiss him. He's far too ugly. And that was like, oh, the whole court went, oh.
Bang. And the prosecutor, who was a genius fucking nailed him on this point for 3 days straight. And that was when Oscar Wilde came out with the famous, the love that dare not speak its name speech. Was then, because he knew he was gone. He was screwed. And he was going to bail, but his mother wrote him a letter saying, are you going to face this like a true Irishman? And he didn't run. Everyone thought Oscar was going to run. Everyone thought Oscar was going to run, and he didn't. He stayed and he took it, probably in the arse for 3 years.
And he survived the prison, didn't he?
He survived the prison fine. They let him out after 2, and then he went straight to France and lived in unsavory company for the rest of his life. And he's buried in France with that fantastic sculpture. And there's the romantic thing where you go and kiss the sculpture with your lipstick lips, and your boyfriend kisses over the top of it, and you'll stay together forever. Because it's all romantic. Nice. It's better than putting so many padlocks on a bridge that falls over. I do like the padlocks thing, though. It's cute.
It is.
So, Queen Victoria, who was really actually only youngish at the time. She was really only in her 20s. It's sort of late 20s. And she found... she discovered fucking with her husband, and wow, did she discover fucking. They had 8 kids,
probably lots.
Like they were definitely practiced. She went into mourning when he died, and stayed in mourning for 40 years. They reckon she had a relationship, but they don't know if it was sexual, with her groomsman, like her horse Equerry.
Is that Mr. Brown?
Yeah.
There's a quite good movie where Billy Connolly is a Scottish groomsman, and he was fiercely protective of her because there were actual anti-monarchists who made attempts on her life.
Oh, and he protected her.
Yeah.
He protected her. He would turn up if there was something going on with his sword out, and he was in a Highland killing mood, which is not a place you want to look at. I've seen an actual Highlander get the shits. It's not something I'd like to see again.
Not twice.
I've seen this Highlander in an Edinburgh pub throw a table through a window so that he could grab two guys and throw them through the window, follow them and kick the fuck out of them. You know, Broadmeadows folk dancing, singular.
Yes.
He was kicking two guys on his own. It's like, fuck, that's pulling double duty. Usually you get six blokes around one bloke, but he was doing one bloke to two. And I was thinking, fuck, that's some skill. And the publican is ringing up the cops, going, yeah, you'd get better to get down here. There's a Highlander who's taken some Germans out the front through the window. And is doing some kicking. Yeah, I don't think they're going to last real long.
They're only German.
And he was very slowly spoken and gentle about it. You know, the windows. The Highlander was always going to do something because the Germans were pissing him off. And the coppers turned up in force. Like, they didn't turn up one or two. They turned up fucking 6 cars.
I was about to say,
all right, that's enough. Walk away. Walk away now. Walk away now. Or
let him tire himself out on the Germans before you try anything.
Yeah. And they were all
get all that boisterous energy out before.
Yeah. And they were all talking to him like, walk away, mate. Walk away.
I'm just going to grab something. I'll be back in a sec.
With big, long sticks. And they all had him out. It was like, you know, they were... and the Ambos were there as well, and they weren't moving in until the Highlander was safely locked away. And at the end of this, the Highlander casually said, okay, and then stopped, walked toward the police, turned around, put his hands behind his back, accepted that he was going to get arrested, and then stepped into the back of the paddy wagon like it was no problem. And then the Ambos moved in and got the Germans out of the way because they were in big fucking trouble. And then they got taken off to the infirmary. But the Ambos were going, we'll just let the cops arrest the Highlander, and we don't know how that's going to go. But the Highlander just said, yep, no, we're done. And walked straight up to the cops and then turned around, put his hands behind the back, assumed the position, and walked away. And there was this, when I was there was this group of Highlanders who wore traditional kilts, and these are the ones you've got to actually lay down on the floor to put on. It's actually only one piece of rough wool, and you wind it and knot it and wind it, and it won't come off. And you put your socks on, which are thick wool, like really thick. You know, Explorers, right? Times that by 10. And then you put these laced leather shoes on. So the shoe part comes up above your ankle, and then they lace up like boots, but they're not boots, up to virtually your knee. And that lacing was a thing they learned from the Romans, and the shoe was the thing that always had. That always had a tough deer leather shoe to keep the nasty rocks and bogs out of your feet, because you don't want wet feet because you get foot rot. And you can't race around big, hairy, long-haired cattle with foot rot. And you can't do a lot of bootlegging with foot rot either. Bootlegging was the Highlanders had come in with 3 kegs of scotch untaxed, by the Queen, and they'd hide bottles in their long boots that they were riding in. And they would take the bottles out of their boots when they got to London and pour it into 3 kegs and walk away with cash, or ride away with cash. And
How do you feel? How do you feel about continuing to regale the folks with stories while I make a cocktail? Is that something that you're
Sure.
up for?
What do you got? 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, it'll take me about 10 minutes or so.
Because I'm going to get very scatological.
Good.
What I might do is try and look at the chat at the same time and see if there's anyone I can answer questions at. Comments. There we go. I heard that Queen Victoria weren't worried about ladies because they didn't think there would be penetration. Well, effectively, that was what it was. She didn't understand it. We had a driver, and I think he thought that we were having a bad time because we didn't want him to recite facts or take us to temples. That's a conversation I wasn't in.
That's Kirsten on honeymoon in Sri Lanka.
Oh, nice. Heine, homosexual in faux French. Fair enough too. And that's some fearless dominance. The great kilt. Abigail, one of my neighbours put a poof out into the hard rubbish. It had a gummy leg, so I fixed it, cleaned it up, and now it's supporting my feet with its soft top under my desk. Love a poof. Yeah, well, people have said otherwise, Abigail. I fucking many times said, I would sit with my gummy leg under your feet, but I would expect, things in return. But no, nothing for me. I've got a thing. It's in there. No, it's not. Would run AZ for Parliament. Fuck yes, we would run AZ for Parliament. Do you know, I had a dream where I was actually elected to Parliament. I went back to Canberra for some reason. There was some disaster that happened in Melbourne, and I got irradiated. So we might have got nuclear bombed, right? And for some fucking reason, I got out of it. And I started a small society in Northcote Mall. All right. And the way I did it was I went into my chemist looking for my methadone. And he said, I can give it to you, but we're in deep shit. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, well, we're a compounding chemist, so we can technically make anything, but we're out of isopropyl alcohol. And I said, well, I can make alcohol. I just need the ingredients. And so we worked out that we could get onto the roof of the mall and grow crops of grain or grain substitute and make rough as guts alcohol. And this stuff would serve as the basis of the solvents that they needed for making the medicines. And so people would start to congregate around this chemist and around this mall. And people wanted to buy medicine and they didn't have any money because the whole system had broken down. We said, look, you can barter. And so we had lots of guys doing security, which were the people outside, and we had people doing safety, who were the people inside, and we had them wearing safety on their t-shirts because we didn't want them to frighten the children. We wanted the children to go up to the safety people and say, I'm scared because this man said a thing, and it's like, don't you worry, we'll take you back to the nonnas, because we had the nonnas doing the creche, and we had Coles shut. It was sort of like a pick and collect. You went up to Coles and said, I've got three kids in my family and a husband and a me, and they go, all right, we'll get you a bag of food. And they'd come back with I think it was 5 days worth of food in plastic bags, and away you went. And then everyone worked out what they would barter to buy or have an IOU. And then the next thing we did was made a hospital, and then it fucking took off because everybody wanted to be in the hospital and everyone had a fucking gun. And one of the rules was you weren't allowed to have any guns in the hospital and you weren't allowed to have any guns in the mall. That was one safe place. And because we'd made one safe place, it attracted families from all around. And then we would go on these trips with this suitcase full of alcohol, and we had burners, and we had heaters, and we had cooking stuff, and we had drinking alcohol as well. And people say, well, you know, what's the chances of you getting out of here without that? And I'm going, well, pretty good, because bloody, we're giving it to you. This is a sample pack. We want you to have this, and if you like it, we want you to come back and get some more. I want you to buy some more. You know, see if the household likes eating hot food for a change. And sure enough, we'd have these, you know, tough guys come back and say, oh, yeah, I need some more alcohol because the wife reckons. And we'd give it to them and say, well, what are you going to barter back? And people had the most amazing shit. You know, a lot of people had guns, and we didn't realize how many people had guns. And they would become instantly our security people. We had doctors, we had nurses, we had this hospital up and running. We had people who knew how to turn cars into running on alcohol. So we would do a depot run once a week, and we would get to the depot, and the guys at the depot would let us in because we had stuff that they wanted, and we would exchange that for medicines and then bring it back. And anyway, eventually the police turned up, and everyone was a bit, oh, I don't know about this. And I said, no, let him in. And I was the boss of this damn thing by accident, and said, let him in. Show him the system and get him a fucking shop front, so that they can be the police, because that's normalcy. And once they did that, they got fireys in and they got ambulance in as well. And then they knew people who were connected with the federal government, and they extended the hospital. So the mall got huge because this hospital was there and running, and they just extended it out. And they extended we had this big amphitheater where all the adults would get together and say, we've got a decision to make about, you know, something. And we'd all make decisions, and then we go, right, that's what it is. And the big things were the creche, where all the nonnas was working really well, because all the women were then freed up to work. And there was a lot of teachers who started a school, and the school was working well. And we had a lot of high school kids who were year 12 and over, and they were the teachers of the younger high school kids. They taught them how to read and write, you know, and poems and all the rest of it. And it was working really well. And then we had a federal minister for someone turn up and say, this is the most organised state so far. You're actually, this is the capital of Victoria. This is actually a running government. So we need a representative from your running government to come into the federal politics. And it was me. I went to Canberra on a plane. They had a plane running. And once a week I went to Canberra, and I was really crass in Parliament. And if something was obviously just weasel words, I just call it as bullshit, You know, we don't have the time and the money to get this fucking bullshit done. We've got to fucking make hospitals and schools and roads. We just got to stop fucking around with, the fiddly points and do infrastructure. And I became prime minister of the fucking country. And it was like, oh, that was an accident. And then fucking all of a sudden I had to make all these fucking decisions because we still had operating fucking tanks and submarines and shit. And I'm going, how the fuck do we get that? It was like, oh, we worked this out years ago. We've got planes and that. And so we got the mines working and we got the farms working, and everything sort of slowly got back together. And then we had all these countries turn up at our doorstep saying, we're in shit. Can you send advisors? And we sent people over, and I was getting emails back through the Elon Musk satellites were working, and we were getting emails back through that. And they were saying, this country's a fucking mess. There's gangs everywhere. It's warlords everywhere. And the trick, apparently, in my dream, in my sleep dream, was to say, give them something of value. Give them something of value that the people who live there will fight for. If you give them something that they can own and fight for, they will piss the warlords off, and they will form a society on their own. And don't try and control a society. Let the society make up its own fucking rules. And as long as it's not evil, like fucking we kill everybody who's different, then, let them go. Let them do what they fucking want. And dissent is important. Dissent is actually very, very important. And so, yeah, AG for Prime Minister. Fucking nightmare. But, yeah, give it a go. Give it a fucking shot. I don't think they'd have me because I've got a bit of a record, and I have some misdemeanors and some flaws in my character that they might pick up on. I say flaws in my character, but I mean massive drug pig, which they're not keen on. I hear. However, the company that got tasked with cleaning out the needle bins for the south of Canberra, which is where Parliament House lives. North of Canberra is the Burley Griffin Lake north. South of Canberra is Burley Griffin Lake south. And in the south, you've got Parliament House. And the company came back to the government and said, listen, if you're going to make us do this contract, we're going to have to rewrite it because it takes as long for us to get rid of all the needles in Parliament House as the rest of the south of Canberra. There are more people shooting up in Parliament House than there are in the rest of South Canberra. South Canberra is the biggest geographical and population area of Canberra. So what the fuck these pollies are getting into, I don't know. But there's a lot of it apparently. And they're right into it. I just think that's awesome. Our politicians are stoned out of their minds. So yeah, that's what I've got to say about that. Let's have a look at the chat, people. Right. AZ, can you solve the Schrodinger equation for a spherically symmetric potential? I sort of had a thought about that, and I figured that there might be a way if you inverted the outcome, and I'll go on to that in a bit. Suffer, did I miss much? I had to park my car. You didn't miss much. It was just me telling a story. Big ads, big bad ads. What a trip! It was a trip. Yeah, and the dream only lasted 15 minutes. This whole fucking years of stuff went on in 15 minutes. It was weird. Sleeping pill is working. Gotta love that. I love that when that happens. Suffer. Why doesn't Canberra vote Nationals? Canberra doesn't vote Nationals because Nationals used to be known as the Country Party, and the Country Party was dead against public service of any kind, and Canberra is the home of, is the headquarters of the public service. And so every time the Nationals get in, they want to slash the public service. And the public service, who would like to keep on to their jobs, go, no, you may not do that. And they don't vote them in, is the simplest way I can put it. Spherically symmetric potential. The way I've heard it done is if you invert the equations so that you don't have bumps but you have holes, and when you have holes you can then push the charge around and the potential around so that it doesn't grind up against itself, which is what as I understand it, the problem is. Could I do it mathematically? No, forget it. I've got no idea. I'm only doing this in words. But that's all I've got.
Right. Do you want company, by the way?
Sorry?
Do you want company? Should we invite anyone else in? Yeah.
Sure. I'd love to hear what Abigail's got to say about the spherical potential of Schrodinger's equation.
On a not completely unrelated thing, because it's a topic that I think I've had with you and Abigail before. I did watch a video the other day about the origin of the universe and how the Big Bang is not what people think started the universe. It's the inflating universe theory is the dominant one now. Now, the Big Bang happened, but they're saying it wasn't a singularity before that. Very complicated. And there are some good videos on YouTube talk about it. Do you like my blue drink?
I do like your blue drink. Yeah. Tell me of it.
This is my Dune-inspired drink, which I call the Spice Must Flow. So I made it with the spiced rum that I made at home, like just some white rum that I put cinnamon and nutmeg and star anise and black peppercorns in. And it's very spicy, and blue curacao, obviously. And speaking of spicy, Dr. Abigail joins us.
So I've two points. Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
Well, thank you. But please, your 2 points.
Looking at you, thinking bad thoughts. I tell you that.
Well, you should see me from this angle. It's
even better from that
angle. Pretty good in there.
I see you from that angle. It's a just innocent question. Probably
so
backup thoughts, but it's an innocent question.
The thing about singularities is that they only exist mathematically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, take, for example, the North Pole. The North Pole is a singularity of our coordinate system of longitudes. Mathematically, that's a singularity. The center of black hole, probably not an infinitesimal point. It's probably actually donut-shaped, but it's a singularity. It's a mathematical singularity. The Big Bang, mathematical singularity, like very dense, but probably not infinitely dense. And that's what they mean when they say it's inflation. It's like the Big Bang happened, but it's not what we think it is. So
the way they
And-
explained it, and I don't remember enough detail to say it very well, but they basically said, look, we have, with our mathematics and physics, proved that theory about the Big Bang isn't real because it's not supported by evidence, but the inflationary universe hypothesis is.
Very real.
We've found
Yeah,
all these
yes,
different ways
it's
to support
demonstrable.
that as an hypothesis.
Yes.
And the Big Bang
Yes.
Big Bang as a singularity isn't. Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
when you start a car, you need an alternator to put the battery power through, and
Or a hand crank.
or a hand crank. And one of the things that has been well talked about to me was they said that probably, and of course, we were only really talking probably here. Our super colliders aren't that big yet. We're talking about probably at the Big Bang. What we've had was a quantum foam event that bubbled out of proportion and released a lot of energy. This started a process that started your hyperinflation. People are saying shit like the hyperinflation went faster than the speed of light. Now, I think that might be a conceit because light wasn't moving very far.
Okay, so the speed of light has nothing to do with light.
That's
It's
what I
the
think.
speed of
That's
causality.
Yes,
It's
right.
so
Yeah, so light's
yeah.
not coming out. I mean, when they say, the let there be light, well, there wasn't light for 100,000 years or 200,000 years. It was
The
dark,
yeah.
and
Yes.
hot, and it was moving quick.
Yeah, it was
And then
glue
all of
on
a sudden,
plasma, so
little sparkles, and it was very bright, and you don't look at it without goggles.
Well,
on.
eventually neutrinos could form, and then quarks could form, and then it got cool enough for quarks together, and hadrons could form, and hadrons, of course, protons and neutrons, and yeah,
Is Susie
way
dead?
back in the day, way back in the day.
Is Susie dead, or is it still kicking on?
Sorry,
Is Susie dead? Supersymmetry.
supersymmetry. Oh God.
Is it
Now
dead
you've
because they're not real good at finding it in the LHC, and they expected to find it here, and here, and it's just not there.
I will get back to you on that because I know nothing about that.
Yeah,
Actually,
I'm not sure.
you have
either.
found a gap in my knowledge.
Well, the thing about Susie is it holds together all of our thoughts on the particle zoo. And
If you knew
Does it?
Susie like I knew Susie,
Yeah.
oh, wanna get-
yeah,
So point number 2. The Schrödinger equation, one form of it is what we use to resolve a wave function of a particle,
yeah,
and a spherically symmetric potential is basically the simplest form that can take in a real world example, and it's
Yeah.
basically like the electron in a hydrogen atom.
yeah.
It's so
But the
yeah,
mathematics-
it's not a trick question, but it's kind of a, like, anytime I hear someone say, "Oh, I know all about quantum physics,"
No, you don't.
I that's my go-to question. Can you resolve the
Yeah.
Schrödinger
When
equation?
Richard Feynman says, "I don't know all about quantum physics," you go, "You don't know
Yeah.
all about quantum physics."
Yeah. Oh,
My
I'm
favourite-
thinking,
Believe me.
I'm thinking mainly hippies and
Oh, yeah.
and charlatans and
Shit like
yeah.
that.
My favorite thing I learned about Schrödinger, which was not that long ago that I learned it, the Schrödinger's cat thing was him expressing, "I am fucking done with quantum theory because it's stupid and it tells me
Yes.
two mutually opposing things are true at the same time, and it shits me, and
It's
I'll
true.
explain it." And it does. And he wasn't saying it was wrong. He was just saying it shits me, and I'm done with it. And
Yeah.
he said it's like saying the cat in the box is both alive and dead.
And then
And
they
people
went
thought he was
and
being clever, and he was just
Well-
trying to
well-
say, "No, this stuff shits me up the wall."
they went and proved
It's
it. They went
I
and
mean,
said,
it's a thought.
"Actually, it works."
The cat is a thought experiment. Of course, at a macro scale, the cat's not in a superposition. But
Mm.
the point of it is that quantum particles can be in a superposition of two states,
Yeah.
which is how quantum computing works.
Well, they fucking often are. I mean, come on. Let's look at the universe in a serious fashion, right?
Oh,
And you
that's
look-
not scary.
You look at the universe in a fairly semi-serious fashion, right? And you look out there and you look down as well as out, and you go, all right, okay, so down and then out don't mesh together, but they're in the same universe. They work perfectly.
What is down in space? There is no down in space.
Yeah. Well,
What I'm
that's
saying
good.
down in space is I'm talking about little things.
Oh, so inwards, yeah, like
Inwards,
focusing.
right? We're talking
inwards,
about
yep.
quantum in, and then you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about going out, and then you go
Cosmology, yeah.
they don't play, and it's like, well, at some fucking point they must have been.
Yeah, well, that's
at some point they must fucking join up, because there's no like space in the universe that says no entrance unless you've got a quantum key. No entrance unless you've got
well,
an Einstein
the only
key.
the only thing left to unify everything is quantum gravity. We have no idea if gravity can be quantized or not. Now, there are some theories to that, but that's all we've got left. We've done the three other main forces. So
Yeah, true.
yeah.
Well, also, I want to
So,
point out.
I've got my money on quantum loop gravity. I'm not big on string theory.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
neither
where I'm
am I.
putting my.
String's
Safa asked
beautiful,
if
but
you can
you
play
can't test
video
it.
games on a quantum computer. Yes, but only Tetris. That's the only thing that runs on a quantum computer.
And all the pieces come at the same time,
Yep.
and you win and lose at the same time.
Same time. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And you maybe got high score.
While simultaneously getting a 0.
And also, when you walk away from the game, there's this L shape with a dot, with a square on the side of it on your back. Where'd that come from? and there's a girl over in Essendon going, "Where'd that come from?" And somehow you mystically,
Because they're entangled.
you know.
Yeah.
And then explode. Anyway,
Getting weird.
I'm going to get a
Right.
drink because my
Yeah.
water is empty. So I'm going to go do that. I'll be back in a sec.
There.
And then I'm going to have
just
some
pouring myself
scotch.
some lemon juice. Oh man, would it be?
yeah, you
I thought some
the
scotch.
big
or something.
problem in that. Yes, Dr. Abigail was right. The big joiner is quantum gravity.
Hmm.
But the thing is, that's a particulate gravity. We know through observation that gravity is a universal force that holds everything in the universe together at once. It is instantaneous, and is universal. So the gravity that holds you and me to the planet is the same gravity that holds things that are literally outside our light cone together. We are connected throughout the universe with this gravity thing. And to do that, you've got to either be a wave force that is continuous from the Big Bang, or you've got to be a particulate force that is fucking everywhere. And then you get awkward ideas that there is only one electron in the world, in the universe, and that it is running around being
Very quickly
being every other electron that there is.
Yeah.
And if there was only one electron in the universe, it would solve a lot of problems. It really would. It really
Oh,
would.
yeah.
And because you can only measure an electron when you observe it, what it's doing in its spare time isn't up to
Who
you.
knows?
It-
You made me think of. Do you remember The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Fifth Dimension?
yes.
Very weird 80s movie with Peter Weller in it. He's a scientist who's also in this jazz band and whatnot. But he's a big experiment where he believes because, there's space between electrons and he's going like solid matter's an illusion. If he gets the right algorithm, he'd be able to go in the space between electrons. And he drives his sci-fi vehicle at a mountain and it disappears when it hits the mountain and it comes out the other side. And that amazes everyone. And he has a big press conference because they're all amazed. Dr. Banzai, you're amazing. And he's like, that was only half of it. Like I proved my first theory, but that mountain, I said you could break it down, you could grind it into dust, and you could sift through every grain of dust that you pulverize from that mountain, but you wouldn't find this. And he holds out this like jelly gribbly thing, which he picked up when he was going through the alternate dimensions when he went through. It's such a silly movie. I need to rewatch it actually.
What movie is it?
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Fifth Dimension.
Okay. Never heard of it. I
noticed
noticed I noticed Megaleech mentions the one electron theory. Or
AG was
conjecture.
talking about the one electron theory while you were out. Yeah.
It's a conjecture, not a theory.
No,
yeah,
but
conjecture.
I digress.
It's an idea.
It's not a theory.
Just an idea, and
It's
a really,
conjecture.
really weak idea.
It's out there. The movie Tenet is based on it.
Yeah.
If you've said the Christopher Nolan one.
And I'm going to sound like a wanker, but I like Tenet. Like everyone else, all these people hating Tenet. I really liked it.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, like most Nolan movies, you got to watch it a couple of times. But I really enjoyed it.
The thing about the one electron theory is that if it was real, it would actually solve a lot of problems.
It'd also
it's awkward.
Ask a lot of questions as well, make a lot of problems.
Yeah, come on. That one electron being everywhere all at once, and you're just going, dude, take a holiday.
Now I'm thinking of
the Big Bang before the hyperinflation and just chill for just a couple of weeks, Take a friend electron if there is one, do some
if there is one.
It's itself. Go on a holiday with yourself, just not the anti-electron positron.
I don't think there's any shame in it. I don't think there's any shame in.
Now you're making me think of Bo Burnham's song. Can I interest you in everything all of the time? How he describes the internet. That's what the internet has become. It's everything all of the time.
This is really good scotch with some soda water. This is just
Scotch highball is an underrated drink. It's a very good drink.
I met a Nazi on the internet.
Good man. Good man.
Who was 14. And I proceeded to talk to this Nazi because I tend not to, because they make me angry and they make my arthritis flare up.
As if they haven't done enough already. They're doing that as well, but
Yeah. So I
was okay with the Nazis until they made AZ's arthritis. That's too far.
Nazis. What haven't they done? Jeez.
This kid was considering getting a swastika tattoo. And I said, you know what? You're 14 as far as I can guess. Now, normally we shouldn't be talking together because I'm old and you're young, and that can be construed as bad. But I'm not grooming you for anything except for a political reality. And so feel free to record this. Don't get a swastika tattoo yet. Because tattoos go on and they hurt, and they hurt more when they come off. And I can guarantee you will have a time when you will want it off, because you will meet Jews, you will meet Muslims, you will meet black people, you will meet um, uh, circumcised guys who are no religion at all, who basically are very decent human beings, and they will be your best friends. You will find that 95% of the Jews you meet will be the most generous, giving, loving people you've ever seen. You will find that 95% of the Muslims that you've met will fucking basically give up their lives to protect you without even knowing you. You'll find that black people are a pain in the ass because they're scared. And if you make them not scared, then you've got a brother for life. You've got a brother from another mother for life. And they will have you as their family forever. And they will get offended if you don't ask them for help when you're in trouble. So this will happen. And I'm not saying this is a hope. I'm saying this is a thing. This is a real thing. So before you get your swastika, meet these people and see how the world is held up. The world is held up by many corners, by many people. And remember that you're in Australia. Australia is not Australia without lots and lots of different cultures holding it up. And I'm quite serious. We rely on the fact that many, many people come from many, many places. And we are going to be moving.
Fuck!
Angry?
Yeah?
You right, mate?
No, I just cut myself.
Have you got a bad
Damn.
Ow! Ow! I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay. I just bought a first aid kit today, and
Say, can you set a timer for 5
it's
minutes?
too
please?
far away.
So I was
I
telling
heard that from just the window, not just through the headphones. I hope it's okay. Sounded serious.
my heart, and that hurt me. So I'm telling this kid, look, meet these people first, right? Then get your swastika tattoo. And then he's gone, oh, but Jews caused all the wars. And I said, well, actually, the Serbians caused both world wars, and it wasn't even their fault. And he went, what? And I said, no one wanted to go to war in the First World War. The Serbians agitated the Austro-Hungarian Empire. There was a set of treaties all set up by the royal houses of Europe, and they all fell over one another. They had to go and back each other up when they didn't want to. And then all of a sudden you had 2 million men dead in the mud. And it was world changing in the sense that men who voted said, fuck this, we're not doing this anymore. Just because you're born to a royal house doesn't mean you're a general. It could mean you're a dickhead, but it doesn't mean you're a general. And changed it. And then the second time war came about, the Serbians did it again. And this time it was from promising oil to a couple of countries that had their oil cut off. And because they promised the oil to those couple of countries, they were able to start a conquest war. And basically, Russia, as much as Germany, basically started the Second World War because Stalin really, really wanted to start his conquest of Eastern Europe. And he thought if he could get Hitler to start it up, he would have a head start. And fuck me, he did. Anyway, so I said, you can find all of this shit out on Google. And I could hear him typing in the background. And then basically, I said, he said, well, why were the Jews really rich? And I said, well, because in medieval times, and remember, only the priests knew how to read in medieval times. Jews weren't allowed to be in trades guilds. They were not allowed to be
Sorry,
trades.
Abigail wants to say something.
Go for it.
Are you okay, Angry? Oh,
Fucking hurt.
okay.
Fuck, it was just with
It does.
It sounded like it hurt.
a vegetable.
It sounded
peeler.
like you just changed your religion just
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, no, vegetable peeler,
that's a
and
joke
it
about-
slipped, and it was a really sharp vegetable peeler,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
it's actually like a really deep cut. But I'm so
Ooh.
terribly injured. I have a Band-Aid now, so
Oh,
If it
look
was-
out!
If it was a Simpsons Band-Aid, I'd be coming around there.
I know.
Fucking good.
So what
Um,
were you cutting? Because if like I was guessing
lemon
like a
peel.
lime. Lemon.
peel. And
That's
I
gonna
said,
hurt like fuck because of the lemon juice.
No,
is
it
on
hurts
the
because I
blade.
cut myself really badly.
I'll do it.
I felt how deep the fucking blade went in when it went in.
Oh.
It like really fucking hurt.
Hey,
But anyway,
Check out my genius. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see all sorts of things. What are you trying to draw our attention to? I can see scars and weird marks. That one, yeah.
And that one.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple on this side. Yeah, I've been doing the whole have a seizure and fall on something sharp thing lately. It's been cool.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah. My GP is really pissed at me. Anywho, so I'm talking to this Nazi and saying, look, your Jews were rich because basically what happens, they were.
Oh, I also want to point out 1% of the Jews were rich, same as everyone else.
Yes,
they just there was an
Yes,
aristocracy
to
among
make it
Jewish
simple.
people.
We had to make
Yeah.
it simple. He's a 14-year-old
Yes.
guy, taught a lot
Yeah.
of fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And I said, remember that the Jews were basically stopped from being in trades. They were banned from trades. So what they did was they banned their money together and they started loaning money to merchants. And they also invented, with the Dutch, the corporate system. So you send a boat to India to get spices and to get silk. That boat comes back and you're rich as fuck. Except the trouble with boats is they sink. So they said, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll send 10 boats to India and we'll have a 10th share in each boat. They're not all going to fucking sink. 7 of them will come back and we won't lose all our money. We'll actually come away with a shitload of profit. And we won't get stung. It won't be on us that all this money got fucking lost. We'll actually have enough money to pay off our debts and we'll have enough money to then capitalize the next venture. Now, the venture capitalists at the time were the Jews with a pot of money to give to the merchants, which is why we got merchant banks, to give to the merchants to run these 10 ships. They'd come back with sometimes even fucking 10 ships and go, we have more money than fucking deities. And then they'd go back to the Jews with their interest payments. Because remember, the Jews aren't allowed to borrow to each other because that's usury and illegal in their scriptures. But they are
With
allowed
other people.
to borrow to Christians. And Christians had the same law. They were not allowed to borrow against each other, but they can borrow with the Jews. Very convenient.
Usury was basically charging interest.
Interest, yes.
That's right.
You
That's
could-
right.
You
Yeah.
could
That's
give
how it
someone
worked.
money, but you can't make money if you don't charge them interest. Yeah.
Right. So it had to work that way. And basically the ship owners, the merchants said, we're going to do the same trick, only this time we're going to do it with 30 boats. So we're going to need a fuckload more venture capital. and the Jewish merchant bank said, "Well, you know what, lads, you've done well so far. We will find you your venture capital." The interest rate might have gone up just a little bit, and the merchants are going, "You know what? That does not hurt us." And all of a sudden, you had these massively powerful merchant banks who were then starting to fund infrastructure, who were then starting to fund governmental reform, who were then starting to fund warfare. And they weren't starting to fund warfare in the sense that they were starting wars. They were starting to fund warfare in the sense they were funding industry. That's a very important caveat. They were backing Krups, and Krups had 80% of its money in steel and bridges, but 20% of its money in arms. And we only ever remember Krups as an arms maker. Yes, they made a lot of money out of arms, but they actually did a lot more infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so,
is that an attention getting move, Abigail, or you're just entertaining us with a dance?
No, arms.
Yeah. You're just I love it. I'm here for it.
Arms.
Or
small arms.
Oh my God. Okay.
Loving it.
I think I've told the story.
Small arms fire.
I think I've told the story.
I'm here all week.
Proves just how the story that proves just how horrible kids of my generation were. And like you think the right wing online is brutal now. Like we were the nastiest little shits. And we said, take a joke, mate. I was of the generation, some children were born with quite bad deformities because of thalidomide. And it took a whole bunch of forms. And one of it was short arms, or in fact, some people would fairly crassly call it flipper arms, because you had these kids who basically had hands coming out of their shoulders. And we did have one kid at school who had two really foreshortened arms. And so us from country New South Wales, his nickname was Lithgow, because the city of Lithgow in World War II, possibly World War I as well, but particularly World War II, supported the war effort because they had a small armaments factory, and it was known as Lithgow Small Arms. So we called him Lithgow because we were pieces of shit.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing.
We were terrible.
I am not laughing.
I say that with we were terrible. This is a guy who had a hard life, and to feel accepted, he had to just kind of go along with it when we called him Lithgow. So I'm just saying we were assholes. My generation were, as kids, were all assholes. So
we had a Vietnamese kid at our school, Catholic Vietnamese kid. And of course, for the first 2 years, he was called Gook. And then one day he fucking stood up in front of us all and said, I have fucking had this. We were South Vietnamese. We were Gook killers. Okay? So fucking get it right. And then from now on, he was Gook killer.
Sure. That's far more inclusive. That's far more inclusive. Yeah.
Good guy.
I mean, a similar one, a kid who was one of Fraser's refugees, and he was being hassled because he was relatively diminutive, and he took it for a while, and then he just snapped at one kid. He goes, you want to know what happened with me when I was in the South, when the North took over, and we were put in concentration camps, and we were starved, and we spent 3 years planning how to get that last 2 meters past the fence to safety. And you want to know how many people I saw die? And then we got to the boat, how many died? And then he just, after saying all the horrors that he'd been through, like, you think you're upsetting me by being a bully? And then with just this stone face, he just looked this guy who was about a foot taller than him in the eye and went, now ask me how many people I've killed.
Yeah.
This guy just went, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's 14. This kid is 14, and he's saying, I was in the camps between 5 and 10, right?
Oof.
And then we got here, and he just relayed all the horrors as if he was going to say so don't be me, or your bullying doesn't matter because of what I've been through. But the last thing he said to him was, now ask me how many people I've killed. And you just see like the blood drain from this bully's face. And he's just like, oh no.
We had a
That's
kid
so good.
who was back from Croatia after the wars, and he was all tough and fucking full of fucking ants. And one of the teachers said, hey, I'm not going to say his name, just jump in line there, man. And he said, I'm not going to fucking do that. Or I've been at war, sir. I fucking killed people. Why should I fucking listen to you? And he says, oh, Jesus' name, don't say that, and don't say that again. Because by admitting that, what you've basically said is you've committed treason. You're an Australian citizen who's gone to another country as a combatant, which is a treasonous act. You will be put in jail for 25 years. They will not let you out. They will not let you see your family. And you will be fucked up the arse by people who hate you for those entire years. You will not be let off with good behaviour, and you might very well get deported when you get out. So don't say this shit again. I didn't hear it, but this is a little bit like fucking child rape. If I hear it again, I've got to take it forward. Do you understand me? Nod. And this kid shut the fuck up for the rest of his time there. And all of the other kids who come back from the Croatia, the word went around. Keep it to yourself. And it was a good tactic. And I found out later that the government wasn't really pursuing it because it was going to get really messy, but it was a crime. And if the school wanted them gone, they were gone. There was one kid who brought a pistol to school, and he was just gone. It was just no. And he brought a pistol to school because he didn't feel safe without it. And it was like, okay, you can feel safe in jail. And I'm sure he didn't. And yeah. Oh, back to my Nazi kid. Anyway,
we sidetracked. Nazi kid tattoo.
I gave him all this and I said, look, go and find a scar club that's got a checkerboard out the front and tell them your views. And find the elder, and he'll maybe tell you some things that you don't know. And anyway, a few days later, he comes back and says, I went to the Scar Club with the checkerboard, like you said. And I said, oh, how'd you go? And I thought, now, it could have either been a disaster or something useful. And he said, fuck, the things they know is amazing. And I hate to admit it, but I met the black guys and the Jews and the Muslims and the trans, not vestites, sexuals, genders, the trans folks, and they were really nice to me, and they taught me how to skank, and I'm going, they've taught him how to skank. The world is a better place. As long as you know how to skank, the world is fixable. And they said, they got me really pissed too, and I said, they do that. And so he's not going to get his swastika tattoo, and I felt a little bit good.
Oh, good. Because I would have just said,
good
go
for
get
you.
your swastika. I would have just said, go get your swastika tattoo, you little fuck. I want it to ruin your life. But I'm not very charitable sometimes.
No, we used to beat up the Nazis when I was a kid, and I used to enjoy it too much. And I hated them a lot. And then when I was in uni, I was with a Jewish girlfriend, and we had some Nazis come through town, and her Jewish friends were terrified. And I went, no, this is not the Australia that I know. We aren't a frightened people until fucking John Howard did the Tampa fucking crisis.
Yeah.
and that Australia was afraid. And I was so ashamed of this country when he did that. And because every fucking politician ever has said, "Oh, be afraid," and Australia's gone, "Fuck yourself." And then he went, "Be afraid," and Australia was. And I just went, "How dare you be afraid of anything a politician tells you to be? How dare you be afraid? You're an Australian. You're not afraid of anything. You know, you live in a country that will try and kill you and you fucking love it."
Fucking
I
love
was
it.
just furious. I was so angry at that period of time where they said, you know, "Oh no, be afraid, be afraid." And Australia was, and I just went, "No, that's not who we are." And so I've been sort of working against that forever. And one day I'll have the definitive answer. I'll never take away from John Howard that he took the guns off us. That was good. That was the one good thing he did, was take the guns off us.
But as you pointed out, he also entrenched racism as a central feature in mainstream politics.
And that was just
Unforgivable.
Cunty.
disgusting. And
Yep. Very cunty.
it was horrible. It was horrible, and it opened the door to hates of other kinds. Remember, I'd grown up in the AIDS days, where hate was the thing that was palpable and dangerous and could get me beaten up on a regular basis and raped a lot. And fucking, I'd seen hate before, and I knew what it meant, and I knew what it did, and to just make it institutional was just vomitous. And I couldn't handle it. I couldn't believe it. And then I just couldn't handle it. And there were Navy people, and there were officials going, "No, there was no throwing kids in the water. That never happened." There was none of this shit that any of the politicians had. And then they gagged them. The politicians just gagged them. They shut them down. You know, it was wildly fucked. I was just ashamed, and things have been sort of slowly improving. People got disenchanted over the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, which cost a lot and did nothing. You know, what was it? 6 months after they pulled out, the Taliban's back in. Iraq is a bombed out mess, and there's no buffer between Iran and Lebanon, which is just a disaster waiting to happen. They've done fuck all about stopping Iran's nuclear program. You know, there's big fucking problems on the horizon, which were all makeable by bad decision making and writing history before it happened. And you know, you open the door to hate, and in comes Pandora's box. We can fix it. We can. We really can. But it's going to take bravery, and it's going to take intelligence, and it's going to take convincing. You know, I had to convince a 14-year-old not to get a swastika tattoo. So that's one little victory. But we've got to convince a lot of kids not to get a swastika tattoo. We've got to convince a lot of kids to skank. We've got to convince a lot of kids that they're not alone, and a lot of kids that they are alone, which is hard to do in an internet generation.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I'm running around Northcote at the moment, and they've got all these signs up going, "Chicks don't have dicks."
oh yeah, I saw there was an attack. It was a bunch of and the actual locals not going to put up with that sort of thing.
No, thankfully the council itself rushed off a a fucking bulk load of stickers that they're going up everywhere, going Northcote does not tolerate transphobia, and and so people are writing "chicks don't have dicks" on poles and that, and then people are writing underneath it, "some do," and they're lovely. What is your problem? Why
I
are you
think the main problem is a bunch of internalized self-hate that, again, often with bigots, there's something they're just not real. They're really not happy about. It's a cliche to say, "Oh, the homophobes are just self-hating closeted gays." Some are. Some definitely are.
Yeah.
But most of them are just bigots. They aren't gay. They're just bigots. And but I think, not that this is an excuse, and not that I give a shit or shed a tear for them. I think bigots generally are very unhappy people, and there's some internalized self-hate that, in their frustration, they just find someone to lash out at. It's because bigotry doesn't make sense. So, oh god, fun topic. Safa says, "Can I get a hammer and sickle tattoo?" You can. I wouldn't. The hammer and sickle's not a symbol of hate like a swastika is. It was, as the worker symbol was completely debased by the Soviet regime. And as we all know, the Soviets directly or indirectly caused the deaths of probably more than 10 million people.
80 million people.
I was being conservative because it's a little difficult to verify.
I was blown away when I found that out. I thought it was 60. It's actually 80.
Yeah. And mostly by famine. And there's some argument whether some of those famines might have been deliberate. Most of them were definitely incompetence and worship of the Soviet model, flying in the face of reality. But it's arguable that some of it was actually a form of ethnic cleansing. There were some groups Stalin really didn't like.
Absolutely. Stalin was right up for that.
Yeah. And Stalin's a piece of shit. So, Safa, the only good place for a Putin tattoo is right on the end of your knob. If you're going to get a Putin tattoo, it has to be right on the end of your knob.
Or just around your butthole so you can take a shit on him every day.
Yeah. No, you know that picture of him shirtless, riding a horse shirtless? It's got to be that, but on your crotch, just above your genitalia. So
your mons pubis.
Yeah, if you have a dick, it's like he's riding your dick, and it's funnier if you're somehow involved with dicks. If you have a vagina and you accept dicks into your vagina, it's kind of funny because I think it's funnier on any genitalia, but I think the Putin tattoo on your crotch is funnier if dicks get involved at some point. That's just my take. That's my take.
Idea of
genitals are just funny. Genitals are
pretty funny.
With his mouth open.
Oh god, no! You know what? I just remembered
that's nightmare fuel.
The worst tattoo I've ever seen that is sexual, and I'm not going to say it because it's the worst tattoo I've ever seen. And it was above a woman's crotch area, and it's
I think I know the one you're talking about.
And I bet you know, Abigail. And at some point, I'm literally not going to say it online because it's just the fucking worst. It is nightmarish that someone thought of it. But anyway, moving right along. Safa, if Putin was aware of my existence, I would be banned from a Russia because I've said so much shit against Putin. I deliberately, when I find out countries have rules that say you can't diss the leader or that's a crime, I make a video saying that leader blows goats. I've got video.
Yes.
I said it about Thailand. I said it about Turkmenistan. I probably said it about Putin. Just whenever I see they have a law that says you can't say it, I just go, well, I'm not going there. Here I am saying the leader of that country is a piece of shit.
But when we were on tour to Kuala Lumpur to basically do a whole bunch of comedy to expats, essentially, it was the weirdest gig. We thought, cool, we're going to Kuala Lumpur. We'll get to fucking see a bit of Asia. That'll be cool. Because we did the same in Singapore and we did the same in what's next to Singapore? Malaysia,
Indonesia?
Singapore, and
Indonesia?
Indonesia. We went to Yogyakarta, and
Oh, that's a fun place.
effectively we got told, right, you do not talk about the government in any way, shape, or form. You definitely don't fucking criticize them. You do not talk about Islam in any way, shape, or form, and you do not criticize it in any way, shape, or form. You do not drink outside your hotel room, and alcohol will be provided to you in your hotel room only, and in moderate amounts. In moderate amounts meant the minibar.
Yeah.
And so what happened is we got off the plane, we got put on a bus, we got taken to the hotel. We got told to stay in the hotel. We got out of the hotel, we got taken to the theatre. We did the gig. We got taken from the gig to the hotel. We stayed in the hotel. We went back to the gig. We did the gig. We got taken back to the hotel. In the morning, we got taken to the airport. We got put on a plane. We saw highways and the inside of a black theatre and the inside of a beige hotel room. That was my experience of Kuala Lumpur. And we did our gigs and we behaved ourselves. One of the boys decided to go for a walk and he got arrested because he didn't have his papers on him. He didn't do anything wrong. He did nothing wrong. We were also told, do not take chewing gum to Singapore. This was in Singapore, sorry.
Oh, for the littering thing, yeah.
Yeah, don't take chewing gum with you because if you have chewing gum, you'll get done. And he didn't have chewing gum. He did all the right things. He wasn't pissed. He was going for a walk and checking out the sights. And the cop stopped him and said, who are you? And he says, I'm Felitti. And he said, what are you doing? I'm going for a walk and checking out the place. And they went, where's your papers? And he said, what do you mean papers? I don't have I'm a comic, I'm on tour. I've been given this sheet to say my itinerary. I don't have to be anywhere until tomorrow morning. And they went, no, you're right. Identity papers, your registration papers, and your temporary citizenship papers. I don't have any of that. And then, oh, that's not good. And they took him into jail, and they basically kept him there overnight. The tour manager was losing his fucking mind and got the fixer to go in there, and a fee changed hands. And they got him out, and they got him straight on the plane. He had to wait on the plane for 4 hours before it took off. It was basically, no, you're not going anywhere. You're staying on the plane.
You're trouble.
When I went through Kuala Lumpur to get to Edinburgh, I basically went up there and they searched me to go back on the plane. For some reason, I think I was just the one in line that they took. And so they searched me, and they search you right up your leg to make sure you've got nothing, stashed down there to blow up the plane or other people. And I've gone, whew, okay, usually I start with dinner and a movie first, but if you want to move this along, that's okay. And this 18-year-old with a submachine gun has stuck it right up my nose. And I've gone, I might have fucked up here. And the captain comes over. Everyone's speaking. It's not Bahasa, it's another language. And fucking, I'm just going, I'm fucking dead. Anyway, the air louder people, because I'm in first class, essentially first class, the air louder people come straight over and go, he is a dickhead. He is a foolish Australian comedian dickhead who is on his way to work. He is nothing. He is nobody. They took out my camera from my bag and checked out the film by opening it. And
yeah.
Explain
and they
that to the
said, "Where
kids,
have you been?"
Adrian.
Yeah. And they said, "Where have you been?" And I said, "Well, off this plane, went to the smokers' lounge, came back." And they waited for the fucking security camera to check that I was not telling a lie. They said, "But you went to the toilet in between and you didn't tell us that." And I went, "Yeah, I did, but I didn't think that was a big deal." And they said, "Well, why did you change your story?" And I said, "Well, I sort of didn't. I just thought I'd go and then come back. I'm thinking I might need to go again soon."
Yes, little poos, little wheeze. Sorry, Abigail.
Can I? Are you ending the stream now? 10 o'clock, or are you?
No,
going,
I'm
or-
still going. I'm in the mood to keep going. I don't know.
Okay, because I would like to tell AD this story of a gay friend of mine who got deported from Thailand. I think you'd get a kick out of it.
I would love that. I'm 10 seconds away from finishing.
Yeah,
Allowed
just
people
finish. Yeah,
and said he's a dickhead, he's an idiot. And then a fee changed hands, and the purser and the other flight attendant, she was the boss flight attendant, and the purser said, "Don't say anything, keep your head down, keep walking, move now." And I said, "My staff, we'll get it, keep moving, walk now, get on the fucking plane." And these were German speakers, and they were going, "Get on the fucking plane." And I'm going, "Yep, okay, no worries, keep your head down, shut up." And it was like being exchanged on a bridge for spies. And I just got on that plane. I went, "Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realise." And they said, "Oh, it happens every flight. Don't worry about it. Sit down, shut up. We'll get you several drinks to calm you down." And they did, plus a couple of Valium, which really helped. And that was it. So don't make jokes in airports ever. Dr. Abigail, you've left us and you're coming back.
yeah. I don't know what happened then. From my perspective, everyone else was frozen.
I know.
So-
It's like that. It's often like that. Yeah.
I'm done.
It's relativity, folks.
It is. It's relativity.
Please,
Yeah. Okay,
please,
so
what do they call it? Connect our particles.
entangle.
Entangle our particles. And
Entangle some quantum particles. Yeah.
Okay, so for a friend of mine who I met, I was in a gay band called the Melbourne Rainbow Band, and
Gay.
this particular person, I won't name names, went to Thailand, and he was extremely gay, like very, very homosexual.
Flamboyantly gay.
Are we talking
Yes,
a screaming homosexual?
he could have been in his youth for sure. Screamed it from the hilltops, but
Right,
he was
right.
he was like middle-aged and had toned it down a bit. He was just yelling,
He was just
not
yelling
screaming, just
homosexual,
yelling
yeah.
homosexual. Yeah,
A
I think
raised
he would
voice
appreciate that.
homosexual.
Yes. Anyway, so he went to Thailand and had a good time and accidentally overstayed his visa. And
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, and the cops actually pulled him up and and arrested him and said, "Okay, look, you've overstayed your visa, and it's only one night." And he had to explain, I'm leaving tomorrow. Look, here's my plane ticket. Officially you're being deported at your own expense, and that's how that works. But we can't just let you go because that's a violation of the visa. So we're going to have to assign you an escort. And so the cop said, "You'll have your choice of police escort," and literally walked in 3 police officers, and my friend had got to choose who his police escort for the night was. And he was just flabbergasted. So he took this young police officer out to dinner, had a few
gee.
drinks at the bar, back to
Gee.
the hotel room,
Yeah, because he couldn't let him out of his sight.
and
No.
could not let him out of his sight, and then escorted him to the airport the next morning.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh yeah. You dream of those
Yeah.
situations. Yeah. You're
Oh
a
my
bad boy.
God.
You're in prison. You need a shower.
Oh yeah.
You need to clean you. I need to clean every last inch of you. I think you do. I've been very bad.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
I was-
So yeah,
So
that's
I'm
my
gonna make-
it's not my story, but it's
it's a
Still,
good story.
a friend's story.
And hi,
You
hi,
can make
Chris,
it
by
your
the
own
way.
now.
Also,
Oh,
I'm
hi,
gonna
Chris.
make another cocktail and let you all keep going.
I'm
I
gonna
was
finish this drink, and it's already going to my head because of my meal replacement stuff. Makes me super susceptible to alcohol now.
nothing
That's
wrong with
What's
that.
that about?
Nothing wrong with that.
Losing body mass, I guess.
It's a good thing. I was involved with a bad crowd, and we were involved in the sales of, shall we say, party entertainment products, and we had a fairly hardcore supplier who hooked us up with our Brisbane counterparts because we'd done well. We had sold a lot of party favors, and we got a trip to Brisbane to meet our counterparts in Brisbane. So we go to Brisbane, and we're met there by our offsiders, and they say, "Righto, lads, there's rules, unfortunately, in Brisbane, and this is in the 80s. We're not allowed to gather as a group because Joe Bjelke-Petersen has made this law saying that young people in a group are a protest, and you need to have a permit for a protest, which you can't get, and the cops can arrest you. They can just arrest you. So we're not allowed to gather in groups of more than 2 or 3. So if you find yourself talking in a group of 4, 1 or 2 of you back out, and you can do that. We
How
would
does that
walk
work?
to places in a crocodile line because we weren't allowed to be together. And we could go to a pub and be in there all at once, but we weren't allowed to be in public and do it. Anyway, so one kid come down after we got off the plane, and he had an Addy Hash t-shirt on, and they said, "Oh no, you've got to go back up and change that. That's an offensive t-shirt and you'll get arrested." And he's going, "It's a fucking t-shirt." And they're going, "We know that you'll get arrested. If you've got anything with block colours or something really, really plain, do that." And he's gone, "Fucking all right." So he's come back down with his Hitler tour, 1939 to 40, and they've gone, "Yeah, no." Have you ever seen one of those? It's got a picture of Hitler giving it that, and it's got the tour dates on the back. Poland, France, Belgium, England cancelled, Russia, first 2 gigs, then cancelled. And then it goes all the way back to Berlin. And they went, no. And so he comes back down with a proper t-shirt. And so he's already got the shits, and they've gone, "It's all right. We will help you on your way with your woes." And so they gave us some comestibles to chew on, and that helped a lot. Anyway, it was known in the group that there might have been a screaming homosexual in there, which might have been me. And there was this young twink-looking thing that had gone through the group and ended up with me. Weird. And he had basically pulled us away from the main group, and we were just chatting. And he said, I'd better help you with your hotel room because we've got to keep an eye on you so that you guys don't get in trouble because you don't know the land. And I went, fine. And so we get in there, and it's obviously on. And he says, oh, before we do this, we've got to hire prostitutes. And I'm going, excuse me? You want a party out of this? And he said, no, that's not the go. So we hire these prostitutes, and they turn up, like call girls, and they turn up, and they go. "Hi,
The
guys."
correct term is sex workers.
No, this is back.
The political.
This is
Oh,
back in the
yeah.
80s, right? They were call girls.
Yep.
And
Yep.
today they're sex workers, but today it doesn't matter. Today you wouldn't get arrested. But back in the day,
And back in the day, there was a hierarchy as well, or what they used to call the hierarchy.
yeah.
So the names were their place in the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. And so he called these girls in and said, righto, boys, what is it, a party? And he said, no, a couple of gay guys doing the thing. And they went, oh, fine. How long do you need us? And he said, 2 days, maybe 3. And they went, great. Where do you want us to be? And we had this suite. And then he said, why don't you girls hang out in here, play video games? And now, if there's a raid, we'll call the word, which I think was banana. And they would come and get the gear off and get in bed. And we would already have the gear off. And anyway, I said, what the fuck is going on? And he said, if the cops come in and we're doing anything gay, we will be arrested because being gay in Queensland is highly illegal. We will be beaten up, we will be raped, and then we will be charged. We will go to jail for 2 years. And I said, we're both under 18. And he said, that's why we're only going to jail for 2 years.
Oh.
Fuck.
Oh.
Okay. And he said, and that's if we survive the beating. And I just went, are you fucking for real? And he went, yeah. How do you sell drugs in a climate like that? And he said, very easily. Amazingly easily. He said, that's why we're basically getting to go on the trip. We've already been on 2 trips, and we're coming to you at harvest time. And I went, oh, that's the best time to come. And so we took the mushy picking out in the forest, and that was fun. It was the weirdest fucking place. It was like welcome to Queensland, because they didn't have back then, I don't know if they still don't, they didn't have daylight savings, and it was always welcome to Queensland, turn your watches back 1 hour. And it was the joke was welcome to Queensland, turn your watches back 20 years. And it was wildly fucked because you could walk around and get arrested for a t-shirt, but then you could walk into an opium den that everybody knew was there, but because they'd paid off the cops, it didn't matter. That was the first time I'd experienced an opium den, and it was awesome.
I used to go to a club called the Opium Den. Unfortunately, there was no opium or any kind of party favors, but there was. It was a good introduction to the drag king scene of Melbourne back in the day. At the Opium Den in Collingwood. Yeah, it's
well developed. The drag queen scene of Sydney is just amazing, but the drag king scene of Melbourne is really, really spectacular.
Yeah, and I'm like neck deep in the scene as well. I know a lot of the main players in the drag scene, behind the scenes. I've helped do a few shows during COVID, and I've like introduced a lot of people to it, and I'm quite proud of that.
So you should be.
Hmm.
So you should be. What's the weirdest place you've ever been vis-a-vis rights?
What do you mean?
Okay, so for me, it was Tasmania and Brisbane was the weirdest place for gay rights. Tasmania only made gayism legal in 1996, and Brisbane only made gayism legal in 1991. For the rest of the
Sure.
time you got caught being gay,
Well,
you were illegal.
I've never actually been anywhere where I am illegal,
Wow,
which is nice, you know.
that's nice.
And it's something that a lot of like people take for granted, but it, like, as you would know, like some of us, you have to think about that. But I've been to Queensland, and it was in the 90s. I've been to Tasmania, but it was in the 2010s. So, and I've been to Thailand. And that was fine.
And it was,
I wasn't illegal.
last century, and it didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's-
So I've never. I think that I don't know. I think the women's bathroom at one point, or the men's room at one point, but nothing serious like that.
yeah.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
We had one of the guys from our lot got busted with like a little fingertip of marijuana bud on him, and he
Okay.
got busted because he forgot it was there. He had a box of mints and he popped it in. And the cops stopped him because they didn't like his attitude, and he went, "Yeah, sure, okay." And we were trained in de-escalation, and that's why we were so successful. We were trained in. Okay, the way it worked was we were all white, middle-class private school boys, and that's why we were hired. Because when we were stopped by the police, we would go, "Hello, how are you? What's happening tonight?" And immediately we were starting to be disarming. And if they wanted to see in the bag, yeah, sure. Not what are you looking for? Nothing. We'd never arc up, and we were friendly. And oftentimes they'd have the canine units there, and the dogs would be sniffing our nether regions, and we'd make the joke, friendly. I would go, he thinks he's found something, so we might ask you to empty your pockets. And I would always go, sure. So he said, I'll empty them. Is there anything that will cut me? And I said, well, actually, I do have a Swiss Army knife in my pocket. It's all sheathed, but it's still a knife, obviously. So, you know, if you'd be careful with it, just make sure, you know, not to flick it open as you're taking it out of the pocket. So they'd take it out and look at it. And it wasn't, you know, fucking commando tactical death machine. It was a normal Swiss Army knife with, you know, tweezers and scissors.
Yeah.
And what have you got that for? And I said, it's the most bloody useful thing. You know, you can
Because
open
it is.
packets, and it can
Screwdriver in a
slice
pinch.
milk that don't open, and it's bloody.
Mhm.
It's just incredible the things you can do with it. It's just really, really useful. Well, how'd you
Yep.
get it on the plane? Oh, I didn't. I stuck it in the you know the hold luggage, and then I just whack it in my pocket when
Oh,
I
checked in. You check the
you know,
check-in
I
luggage.
do it
Yep.
in the check-in, and then away you go. Well, all right. And so they opened up everything, and they gave it to the dog to sniff, and the dog was interested in this Swiss Army knife, and I'm going, he's really keen. Does he want one? And they're going, well, look, sir, and I'm going, got him. As soon as they call you sir, you've got him. The dog believes that there's drugs about this Swiss Army knife. And I've gone, okay, well, there's not, but look, you do what you need to do. I'm totally fine with that. Did you want to check other stuff as well? Because maybe, and they went right through the Swiss Army knife and said, nothing here. Have you been to a party lately? And I went, well, yeah. Did someone borrow your Swiss Army knife? I went, yes. What did they want it for? Oh, they wanted it for the scissors because they wanted to open something. How long did they have it?
Yeah.
I said, oh, about 15 minutes. And they went, okay. Don't
Yeah.
give your Swiss Army knife to other people, okay? Because what they've done is they've cut up marijuana. And I've gone, oh, I see. They haven't packed the handles full of ecstasy tablets like I did. Which you need to screw and then distribute. I'll wash it up and make sure that that I don't give my knife to those friends again. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm a bit embarrassed about it. Thank you very much.
That is hilarious.
My anemone, where there was many more tablets of ecstasy hidden in my briefs and other secluded pockets. They said, oh, it's just the knife carrying through. And I went, oh, okay, cool. And my mates were sort of looking at me going, Jesus Christ, he's got about $500 worth of our product on him. Which was nothing because one of the guys had about $8,000 worth of the product on him.
I mean, that's like what? Okay, if we think back to those times, that's only like 20, 30 tablets.
No, we used to run wholesale.
So okay, so
tablets there.
Sorry?
There's about 150 tablets there. Because we were wholesalers.
Damn.
We weren't street dealers.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there was a lot of money in
your underwear,
various different hidey holes. And we ran a lot of risk at getting caught, but we'd been given a lot of money to take party favors because we had to show our hosts a good time. And
I have to say goodnight to my son.
I'm not sleeping.
Oh, what are you doing? Oh, give me a kitten. Okay, sorry. A kitten. Oh,
immediately.
This is a kitten. This is a 9-month-old Maine Coon who doesn't like to be hugged. He has another year or two of growing left. He's already twice the size of my cat. And he's got a lot of Maine Coon in him. which is, as you might know, the largest domestic cat that you can have.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So
he doesn't like
yeah,
hugs.
we had to show our hosts a good time, and we because that was part of the culture, and we
Yeah.
brought a lot of product with us. And this is back in the days when the sniffer machines weren't so good, and the X-ray machines weren't so amazing. And if you did everything right, you were fine. And then there was the story that we all took note of a guy who brought something like $4 million worth of cocaine into the country. And what he'd done is he'd packed it in brick form into the false oil sump of a Ford F500,
Okay.
all
Jesus.
chromed up. And they'd they'd very
Yep.
carefully bolted it back on, and the fucking idiots hadn't bothered to wash their hands
Oh.
when they bolted it back on to wash the sump, and so the dogs went straight to it, and they undid, and flop out comes these bricks, and they're just going, why wouldn't you fucking wash it? Because there was no way they would have found it. There's just no way. And then they took the car apart and found just an enormous amount of cocaine just stashed away that was actually washed properly on the outside.
Yeah, okay.
And they took the whole car apart. And then when they finally...
All it takes is just one mistake, one tiny mistake.
And you're screwed. Yeah. And that was a lesson that they'd taken to heart. And so we were very careful. And we were trained to be non-confrontive, de-escalatory, and to be collegiate to the police, so that if they wanted something, we'd go, oh yeah, sure, no worries, hey. And sometimes if we wanted to move them on to another subject, we'd start to ask them questions like, well, we're from the uniforms are slightly different. Why have you chosen that kind of uniform? And they would be quite happy to talk about the history of the police force. And also, it was a good idea to ask questions you already knew the answers to.
Way you won't be surprised when you hear the answer.
Well, then that way we would be able to get ready with the next question. And we'd also be ready if they were trying to trap us into something. If they were trying to move the conversation back to somewhere we didn't like, we would be ready for that. Another thing that happened that taught us a lot was we initially started driving for these people. And the setup was we were moving cars at night between dealerships, okay? So we'd have these dealer plates on, and we'd move in lots of 3 cars. 1 car was to pick us all up at the end, and 2 cars were being moved. And the cops would stop us, and we'd be in our grey coats and our gloves. And they'd say, what are you doing? And we'd show them our paperwork, and they'd say, well, open the boot. Oh, we only have the grey key. We can't open the boot. Which was a good thing because the boot was rigged to explode and would kill you, anyone standing near it, and did in Sydney.
Oh my God.
We couldn't open the glove box, but we could drive the car around. And after a month or so, they got to know us, and occasionally they'd stop us and just swap the time with us, and we'd chat away, and everything was fine. Anyway, one time we were all told to assemble in the main headquarters, and there was plastic on the floor and a chair in the middle of the room.
What did I walk into?
One of the drivers, who was one of the old drivers, because they changed the hiring thing to these white middle class private school boys. and he was one of the old school who arced up at cops and who was a bit cheeky, and he had managed to open the boot of a car without blowing himself up, and he had been found by the camera that they'd stuck on the roof of the boot. And they put him in the middle of the room and they said, "You did a bad thing." And he said, "No, I did nothing." And they beat him up real bad. The chair was in just sticks by the end of this beating. And I, to this day, don't know if he was alive or dead when I left the room. But we were told, behave yourselves at all times. Do as you're told. And we would drive these cars to where we were supposed to, and in our hands initially were suitcases that were handcuffed to us, but eventually they were backpacks that were basically wired on, and effectively if they were taken off us, they would blow up too. So you didn't want that. But we were told to drive the car, stop, get out of the car, put the keys on the roof, and walk with two people straight to headquarters. Didn't matter what happened, who jumped you, who followed you, who came out of nowhere with a knife or a gun. You just kept on walking with these two people. You would be fine. And a few times people tried to jump us, and several other people jumped them, and it was not pretty. And I just kept my fucking head down and kept on going. And I kept on getting bonuses because I kept on getting stopped by the cops and getting out of us there. Getting all out of there.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Do
That's
that.
fair. You go to the bathroom.
I
I'm surprised
will
you're
be
both
back in a
still here. I
sec.
took so long just then. I was half expecting
Half
there to be
an
no one
hour?
here when I turned back. Yeah, it was 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah. I'll be back in a sec.
All right.
Go for it.
Back in a
Anyway,
sec.
so yeah, then we basically moved up a notch, and we were into wholesale delivery. And then we got to go on these trips, and these trips were fantastic. Unfortunately, I've got nothing to show for these trips because
you didn't
they were
invest
just
wisely. Yeah.
hey.
You didn't invest wisely.
I did not invest wisely, but I invested well.
Yeah. You remember Chow
I
Hayes,
don't know
who
what
I
it
always
was, but
bring
they
up.
always seem to find somebody that was a little bit like me wherever we went.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a like a little treat for me or a little treat for them. Maybe it was both. Maybe they just this will work.
Two-way street.
Yeah, two-way street.
Just you're saying about what you're saying about not investing. You just remember the Chow Hayes, who I always bring up, who was a gunman for the crime madam in the 30s, where in his old age, when someone's interviewing me, he just said, at some point I kind of tried to work out how much money I stole. And I realized, because he grew up in Chippendale, Redfern, I could have bought the entire street that I lived in, like 20 terrace houses. I could have bought them all with cash, and I've got nothing because we would just burn through it. Like every night was a party. Girlfriend wants a fur coat, she gets a fur coat. Half the time I'd steal it, half the time I'd buy it, and it's just like, it's a lifestyle.
It really was. And I realized I had to get out when we started getting some arrests, and our patron basically got me and another guy to go to the Canberra airport and buy tickets to Sydney every half an hour until she got there. First class to Sydney until she got there, because she was in trouble. She was gone. Yeah. And she was packing and getting ready and folding up the crew. And then this guy just kept on putting fucking hundreds of dollars over the counter and said, I want another 2 seats. I want another 2 seats. I want another 2 seats. And they were going, are you actually going to get on this plane? Yeah, when she arrives. And then...
back in the day when you could do that, you can't do that now.
You can't do that now. and then she arrived, and they got on the plane and went, and I never saw her again. You'll know that you noticed that I've never used a name.
Which is a smart move, yes.
Yeah, and I won't.
Yeah. No,
'cause they
no, definitely not.
made people go away.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ooh. Oh,
And
speaking of names, hi Lee. Lee just came in to say hello.
hey, Lee. And yeah, I got given $5,000 from her bag, and she said, "Thank you for everything you've done. Goodbye." And when she said goodbye, I knew
That's
it was
goodbye.
finished.
Yeah.
And mates of mine were getting arrested, and by that time too, unfortunately, we had the spate of people kill themselves. So I wasn't in my right mind to
Oof. No, not
do
great.
anything
Not great.
useful. And
Yeah.
I was gonna even go up to them and say I want out because I'm fucked up and I'm gonna be a liability for you. And then they just folded it up before I could tell them. And I
you got out
never
anyway.
saw anyone involved in that organisation ever again. I was never attacked. I was never collared. I was never followed. It just, as soon as I wasn't in the organisation, I was nothing. I was just another human in Canberra.
Well, that's lucky that you actually could get out.
And then I went to uni, so I was gone.
And a very different life then, yeah.
Very, very different life.
Very different. Hey, by the way, I've been making the reason I was gone for half an hour is I was making Halloween drinks. This one is called a Cadaver Reviver, which has got a tequila base, tequila, orange liqueur, and because I wanted it to be at least, I thought it might go redder. It's only kind of pink. I put this stuff in it, a red aromatized wine, but it's nice. And then this one, which looks very Halloween-y, it's called the Nightmare. It's got a bunch of red stuff. It's got gin and sweet vermouth and cherry liqueur and blood orange juice. So it's very Halloween-y. So it's the Cadaver Reviver and the Nightmare. That's my Halloween cocktails this year. Oh, Sarah's got a good question. What would $5,000 in the 80s?
Yeah.
And also, he's saying, what would that be worth now? Also, Safa, there's relative worth. In pure inflationary terms, what would it be? 10,000 now?
25.
But also, I wanted to point out in meaningful terms, unemployed young lad in the 80s, to meet $5,000 to an unemployed young lad in the 80s, to me today, is at least $50,000 in terms of what it would mean to me. And I'm probably understating it when I say it's, to me, being an adult with a job and stuff, that's probably 100,000. That $5,000 in terms of what it meant, what the same amount to me, to mean the same to me, would have to be about $100,000.
It was worth $25,000 because remember that along the way, everyone had their cut, and you had to pay everyone, and so it would have been worth $100,000 if we could have kept it all, but we didn't, and it was worth $25,000, which we fucking promptly spent.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Jesus! At that point in history, someone handing me $100 would have seemed like a lot of money, let alone $5,000.
Well, the first time I got paid. The first time I ever got paid from something doing something dodgy. I got paid $500 for driving a car, and I just went, I'm the richest boy in the world. And by the end of the car driving, I was getting $15,000 a week. And I was just going, I don't know what the fuck to do with this except to turn it into cocaine. And I managed. And then I got offered $200,000 to take a brick to Western Australia. And then I got told, don't do it, by various different people. because they said
These are giving me a headache,
Okay.
and I want to avoid a migraine.
That's a good
So
idea.
I'm gonna switch off,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll be in the chat.
All right, cool. Cool.
beautiful.
Thanks for joining us and chatting and stuff.
You're fabulous.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes,
I
For
still
party
need
night.
to look
for
down
Freedom Party night.
the shirt though. I still want
Yes, I assume that you don't want to do stream at Abigail's tomorrow
Not tomorrow,
do
but I
it
do want to do it.
at
We'll
some
plan
point.
it. Yeah.
Excellent.
We definitely plan it. And possibly
Cool.
visit one or two of those nice bars in your area before we do the
Oh,
stream. too.
yes.
Yes.
Elysian has some
Yes.
great cocktails.
Yes.
Oh,
There's a couple.
very far away from Abigail's. I think I could probably do something about that.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Night,
I'll be
Abigail.
in the chat.
Oh, you're
so
going to be in the chat. You're going to be in the chat. So
I'll be in the chat.
I could be in a bubble. I could be in a
Yeah.
bubble.
We could work it out. I think there's going to be an official statement about third dose vaccine in the next week or two. Certainly, they're nutting through it at the moment, and you would be on the 1A list. Actually, it's not. How long ago did you get your second dose?
It's got to be 6 weeks. Easy.
Yeah. No, they'll probably wait. I think the ideal wait would be in the region of 6 months for a third one. But we'll wait and see, because they're definitely going to make an announcement. And you would be on the 1A
They want to
list.
dose me earlier than that.
Yeah. We'll find out. You'd definitely be on the priority list for a third, because the thinking now is this is like a 3-dose vaccine. It's not even like a booster. It's just like, we think now for efficacy after a bit of a lag after your second one. So for people who aren't immunocompromised or who aren't on the front lines, the gap's probably going to be 6 months or more. But for other people like yourself, could be much shorter. But we shall see. And apparently, again, I'll wait for the official thing, but apparently the recommendation for the third dose is a different one to the one you had. So if you had AstraZeneca, they'll say Pfizer. If you had Pfizer, they'll say Moderna. But apparently not Moderna. Like if you got Moderna, they think all 3 doses should be Moderna. This is the scuttlebutt. It's all unofficial at this point. But this is the scuttlebutt of stuff we're likely to hear in the next week or two. So
Yes. I know I'm getting a phone call from said individual, my doctor, and he said as soon as it becomes available, as soon as we get it in stock, you'll be getting a phone call and you'll be told to come in, because my immunocompromisation is something that would
it's a thing of concern.
Me, but it would hurt those around me. Because if you're immunocompromised, you're not making any antibodies with it. And my antibodies have been pumped up, but they're fading rapidly. And I'm sneezing out.
Yes, you're going to be shedding virus. You're going to be shedding virus everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm actually I'm sneezing out a more beastly form of the virus that got past that initial antibody hit that was working. And so it's actually probably a slightly mutated form. So they want to kill that off as fast as possible. And they don't want me to. Boss of the house was here tonight, which was a miracle. And my landlord is coming to fix a whole bunch of shit, and he has been coughing his ass out, and he's just recently been to China.
Okay.
His daughter made him double jab before he went. I think he's just got a cold, but it doesn't matter. Boss of the house is not very happy with me hanging out with him, which I have to. And essentially, if he's got a new strain, I'm going down like a bag of shit. So fun till the daddy took the T-bird away.
Yeah.
Happily, though, this time when I go to hospital, I'm not as brain damaged as I was the last 2 times, and I won't be
Well, that's
so
a plus.
Jekyll and Hyde about it all, because I'd be very pleasant and then I'd lose my temper and start shouting, which I don't do. And I also got accused of self-harm, which just put me over the edge of reasonable.
Self-harm. Well, myself fell over and got hurt. So from a certain perspective,
I
that's
said to
self-harm.
I was not allowed to go to a certain rehab facility.
Yeah.
And they said because he's a bad guy and he self-harms. And I said, I heard that phone call. And he said, you shouldn't have heard that phone call. And that's bad. And we'll get on to that. And I said, listen, I want you to alter the records because I have never self-harmed in my fucking life. The universe has harmed me more than enough.
Yes.
For me to try and help it. I have had, you name it, I've had it. The only thing I haven't had is your more spectacular venereal diseases. And even then, I've had some. I had chlamydia once, and I also had. This is just ridiculous.
No,
Okay.
we're gonna go there.
I also had a fungal infection on my penis.
That happened.
I thought that was the end of the world, because everything was wrong, and I've gone screaming to the doctor. My cock is falling off and is itchy and is burning. What the hell's going on? And he's gone, you've got a fungal infection on your cock. Has this happened to you before? And I've gone, no. And he said, how old are you? And I said, 41. And he's gone, right, you'd be circumcised then. I've gone, yeah. And he says, your intact brothers get this once every couple of years, and it's no big deal. And I've gone,
okay.
Really?
Yeah.
And you've gone, yeah. And they would be looking at you going, you are such a pussy. You put the cream on, you just don't root for a week and you let it go. You'll be fine, you fucking pussy. And when I was in hospital,
lotion on its skin.
I had to get my testes taken out of where they used to be in my
scrotum.
And they had to put them in my legs.
Yes.
And then they took them out of my legs and put them in my new scrotum. And I had a lot of swelling where the holes were in my legs, and it pushed forward my mons pubis. And your penis is held on by a ligament, and it pushed everything forward. So I had a false foreskin, and I wasn't used to this, and I was trying to sort of make myself comfortable and sort of pull it back and sort of air it out for a little bit, and then let it go. I just wasn't used to it. That was all it was. I mean, I'm sure I would have got used to it, but I just wasn't used to it. And then one day I've pulled back this false foreskin, and I saw these yellow bumps around my corona.
Oh no.
Lose my shit, because I had been in hospital with an infection that cut my balls off effectively. Scrotum. But I was not in the.
It was pretty radical stuff. It was pretty radical stuff. Yeah.
All right. I wasn't in the mood to have another infection. So I've freaked out, called the nurses and gone, oh my God, I've got another infection. It's on my cock. They're going to cut the cock off. Oh my God. And they've looked at it and gone, yep, that would be smegma. You've just got to clean it off. And I've gone, right. And then one of these nurses says, you cut guys are all the same. And then just walked off.
Scared of a bit of
Like going,
smegma.
cleaned it off, and I went, don't ask that. That's not going to get a good answer. And I sort of got a washcloth and a bit of soap, and I did the best I could, and it worked. And then I worked out you've got to rinse as well.
Yeah, rinse and repeat, just like shampoo.
I just had soapy nastiness under there, and it was not a good
Oof,
look.
no.
And
All right, I'm just worried some poor bastard stumbling into the stream at this point might move away from AIDS's penis. And how many times have I said that phrase in my life? I think I'll just move away from AIDS's penis now.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of your fear that you should overcome, and that we should just cut the sexual tension.
No, look, honestly, saying that's a fear is like saying I'm afraid of funnel webs, as if that's a bad idea. No, funnel webs are to be kept a certain distance away from me. You can call it a fear if you want, but it's pragmatic, is what I'm saying.
But they crawl up next to you with love.
Yeah, you'd say that, yes.
And the bite only happens when there's rejection.
Oh dear. Yes, I can see where you're going with this. Sure. I just noticed Chris had mentioned when we were talking about getting booster shots, because the vaccine, for people who aren't morons, the vaccine program in the US is quite a bit ahead of ours. Chris's mum's got a booster. Chris has had his flu shot. We'll get a booster in January. His girlfriend's had a booster. So yeah, because again, for people who aren't morons, in the US, the vaccine rollout is months ahead of us. Mind you, you've got a much bigger moron population than us, which we appear to be racing at absolutely breakneck speed to more than 90% of everyone over 12 being vaccinated. Now, all through Europe and North America and whatnot, it kind of raced to 60%, maybe 70%. And then the rate of vaccination went. In Australia, it's just gone, fuck no, we're all getting vaccinated, motherfucker.
But do you know also that most of the vaccine produced in Australia went to America? Something like 70%.
The only thing we were producing here was AstraZeneca. Although we are going to produce Moderna here. But
70% of what we produced went straight to America.
Yeah. And we ended up having to trade people, like, can we have more Pfizer? We'll trade you for this and whatnot. And now they're going to suspend production of AstraZeneca because the shit messaging from the government has scared too many people off AstraZeneca when it's a perfectly safe.
It's fine.
Vaccine.
It works fine. All three of them.
And there's going to be a fourth one next year. I like Abigail's question. How's the moron population in terms of percentage, head of population, compared between here and USA? Chris, I think, will be on my side. I think in terms of absolute fuckwits, we've got 5 to 10% of the population. 5 to 10%.
That's fair.
Like 30, 40%, I don't like. 30 or 40% of the population, I don't like. But absolute fuckwits is like 5, 10%. I honestly think in the US, because it's been self-poisoning with the discourse for a while, I think the absolute fuckwit percentage of the population is around 20%. I think you're up to about 49% of the population I don't like. But absolute fuckwits, I think it's like 20% of the population. Maybe 30%.
But do you know only 35% of Americans believe in fucking evolution?
What's spooky is when you start getting percentages of people who believe weird shit in America, and you get something like 5% of the population believes blah, blah, and something just fucking dumb. And you go, oh, it's only 5%. But then the actual number of people that means in a population that big, it's like somewhere around 15 to 20 million people believe shit that is absolutely unhinged, just freakishly unrealistic. And there's up to 50 million people believing stuff that should have them locked up in asylums, quite honestly.
Yeah. True story. There's just no getting around it. But the thing is also, let's remember that you've got your US as possibly the most scientifically advanced country in the world. They're possibly the best brains in the world.
Yeah.
And if they don't have them, they buy them.
Yes, they import them. Yes.
They basically say, hey, Australian scientist that has thought up this amazing thing and can't get R&D funding, come over to America where you get a great house, great education for your kids, great fucking funding, great, lab, great fucking...
And the dozens and dozens of CSIRO scientists that we paid for their training and whatnot. And then the LNP cut the funding and they all lost their job. They're all working for Elon fucking Musk now. People that we paid for, we put millions and millions and millions of dollars into their education, and
in Germany
and making money for Elon Musk.
Who decided to start to walk away from nuclear power decades ago. They wanted to get into solar, and they said, who does solar? And they went, Australians do solar, and they pay their scientists shit. And so they basically went, if you come to Germany, we'll pay you properly, we will give you proper labs, we will give you support, we will give your kids the best education, they will be guaranteed fucking university education right up to the doctorate level. And I mean, how can you say no to that? And there is a place in Germany called Kangaroo Valley where they do their solar research.
Yeah.
And they have managed to get real power out of 5% sunlight.
Yeah. Again, Germany gets a significant proportion of their energy from solar, and we get 50 times more sunlight than they do. It's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And fucking we do it every fucking time. If it's not about farming, then you can't have the money.
Or coal.
Or coal.
Or coal.
Well, coal funds itself. Coal will send its own money to the scientists to fucking and the geos to get its goodies. They are more than happy to do their own R&D. But in Australia, in our Australian run fucking laboratories, as soon as it's not about farming, we don't see that flying. What's the business case? Jesus Christ, if I hear business case again.
Yep.
At a time when we were locked in at COVID, that NBN done properly would have been a really good thing.
It would have been such a boon for the fucking economy if that had been done properly. But fuck it. Hey, you know what?
They fucked it.
Yeah, it's
why bother?
It's 11. Although I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like pacing myself because I am supposed to be working tomorrow. I don't think I have any meetings, but I've got some stuff to do. And
look, I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit shagged, and I'm starting to get a little bit negative. And I want to get my cock out real bad, and I know that you don't like that. Just because of being dragged off YouTube. But I really want to get my cock out. So I'd better discretion better be the better part of valor.
I think so for both of us. I think
And
they're
anyone
on the
who
side
wants
of
dick
caution.
pics, get hold.
Yes.
I will. Yeah, I'll send them across. You'll get my good side.
Oh, nice. Classy. Very
I don't
classy.
have a good side. I'm so
Anyway.
fucking fat right now that you'd be lucky to see it. I'm so
Okay.
embarrassed about how much
We're gonna-
weight I've put on over COVID. All right, I love you guys. Thank you.
Oh yeah,
so much
1
for
hour of
listening,
lockdown
guys.
left. I had a half idea of staying up till lockdown was over, but I can't be fucked. I'm going to err on the side of caution. Go to bed and be ready for party night tomorrow night.
Loving it.
So see you all later. Another